Promo Wrestling Pod, episode number 7, the real episode number 7. The episodes you've seen before, they were just an illusion of your mind. And if you've ever seen Arrested Development, this is the part where I'd give you a forget me now, aka a roofie, and you'd never remember that technical difficulties were a thing because they weren't. And we're gonna get it right now. Episode number 7, as we said, or we didn't say before, is a special episode because the number 7 for Matthew Mullins. And Matthew Mullins, he's currently face palming, but there is no denying that Matthew, we love all 7 of your new gimmicks, which is one of his new gimmicks he's planning on bringing to CPWA, which is the fed of our guest today, is Uncle Mullins, where he takes his competitors on fishing trips and he tells them about the birds and the bees. Mullins, how excited are you to debut Uncle Mullins?
What the fuck? I'm not debuting no fucking Uncle Mullins gimmick. What the fuck is wrong with you?
You don't want to take me fishing. You know that
anybody's uncle.
You know that ever since my dad walked out on me, you've been the only father figure I have. So you better step up.
I never knew you. I've only known you for 2 years, you jackass.
Well,
how rude.
Yeah, I'm a fragile... Whatever. Mullins, whatever. As stated, we've got a big guest, the most controversial man in promo wrestling. That's how I describe him. Your mileage may vary. We're going to get it right this time. I think he's raring and ready to go. There he is, super kicking the competition, just like the very first early days of IPW when I seen him. Eric Jesse, how are you doing today?
Taking heads off like hot butter. How you doing?
Wouldn't expect anything else. Mullins, you got to remember that. How'd you love the early days of taking heads off like hot butter?
I still love it. I said I still love the Violator gimmick. It's top favorite for sure. It's in the top 5 or top 10.
What do you favorite 5 or 10? Which one is it? I like favorite. You can just go with favorite. 5? Okay.
Probably top 5.
I'm good with that. I didn't know I was in anybody's top 5. I thought I was everybody's favorite. But we'll go with top 5. We're good.
So, Mullins, what you're saying is that Eric Jesse is not your god. Is that what you're trying to say to this man's face?
I wish you quit putting words in my mouth.
Good answer.
You're lucky you're lucky I don't live closer than what I do.
Because the Violator, for anyone who's kind of paying attention to the storyline, I know I'm brief sometimes, and I know I don't let things out till the end, and if you can make it to the end of the promo, well, I must be doing something right, you know? But I'm actually switching it. The Violator is going to kind of switch to the Good Lord. I am actually now going to... My new character has switched. I didn't change my character, but in the storyline, I'm changing my name to God, and now you guys can actually refer to me as God and nothing else. The Violator is now God, and that's what you are to call him.
Well, I'm not surprised because you've always been you don't have self-esteem problems in the promo wrestling world. When, Eric Jesse, did you realize when we started all of this back with the No DQ group and IPW, when did you realize that you could be such a enigmatic figure?
You know, I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever did realize what I could be or who I could be. I just kind of went out and I just did it. And then when people started responding to what I was doing, it was very obvious. It was clear. I had full control of all of this. And no one was to ever question me.
Full control.
Full control.
Some pretty
or no control. I don't know.
Pretty confident words, but we talked about it right there. You said people started to respond to you. We got into it we didn't get into it in the deleted episodes, but tell us about the intro into promo wrestling and how you started to get those introductions into the No DQ group that eventually turned into IPW.
So I literally just joined No DQ. All right. So I was browsing the internet one day. I said, I think there's WrestleMania was coming up. So I was a little bit more into wrestling than I am through the rest of the year. I was like, sweet, WrestleMania. Got to get caught up in my storylines. what's better than watching wrestling to catch up on the storylines? You could just read it on the internet. So I was like, well, let's go see what these idiots are thinking on the internet. At the time, I wasn't even too like up to date that there was an internet wrestling community. I didn't know how stupid they were, especially. I get on the internet and I'm looking, oh, no DQ, cool, let's check these guys out. Now, I probably found the dumbest group of them all, where they were absolutely nothing but trolls and idiots, and they were so dumb that it actually looked like fun. I was like, hey, I'll join this group and I'll be dumb too. And all of a sudden, there's guys talking about cutting each other's dicks off. There's just this madness going on, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Next thing you know, they're cutting promos on each other, and I wanted in. I mean, instantly, I said, wow, okay. It was one match. I think it was Mullins versus somebody, and they never had a match, but the idea of it was like, yeah, I could do that. Let's do promo. WrestleMania's coming up. I'll kick your ass. You kick mine. Someone's going to be the winner. And at the time, I kind of knew without any knowledge to actually having any that eFeds or anything ever existed before at this time. I already knew that these people like knew each other. They're going to have their favorites. I mean, that's common sense, right? It's common sense. You think it would be that way nowadays, but I just said it still looks like fun. They matched me up against Christian Seibel. And I actually won. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, these guys brought me in. I won. That was the first, like, hey, who's this Seibel guy? He's pretty interesting. The more I can keep him talking, the better it would be, So that's kind of where I came in.
Have you ever done anything like this prior to that? Like, have you did speaking engagements, anything at all to prepare you for this psychopathic world?
No, definitely not. Sales and cell phone sales, window sales. I'm okay talking to people. I've always been okay in front of the crowd. One time I did a mail review, not to the point where I had to not like Thomas Austin or anything. It was for the VFW. I mean, I'll tell you what happened was I did get nervous as shit. But what happened was I went out into the stage. I stripped down to my boxers, and I realized that I was actually having the most fun of my entire life. Oh, hold on. Is the pizza here? I'm in the office. Is the pizza here? Yes. Okay, I'll be right back.
I forgot to mention it at the beginning, but Eric has to leave us for a temporary spot because, like so many of you in promo wrestling, he has a family, and he's got a daughter to feed. And so he's feeding her pizza, which I'm as soon as this interview is over. Guess what Matthew Mullins ate today? He went to Walmart to have lunch. Mullins, what the hell do you eat at Walmart for lunch?
I didn't eat at Walmart, even though they had a Subway in there. I went to Popeye's Chicken.
Well, okay, and we just got a Popeyes up here in Canada because things take time to reach up here, okay? We just kind of figured out this whole internet thing. We don't even really understand the capabilities of radio. So we just got Popeye, okay? We just got Popeye's Chicken. I haven't even ate it yet. But I had, and my long and storied history with KFC, so maybe I should go to Popeyes.
We all know about that.
Look, the Colonel is
Although I heard some rumblings that it was fake.
There's nothing fake about my hate for the Colonel, and there's nothing fake about the Colonel's hate for me, let me tell you that much. Mullins.
Yeah.
So
KFC's actually used to be really good, but they just went downhill over the years.
Mullins, how does it feel to commit adultery on Sbarro's by eating Popeye's chicken?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
I'd go to any fast food restaurant that I want.
Oh, so you're just a fast food whore, sampling the neighborhood, eating all types of fast food, whatever you can get your hands on. Well, Sbarro's sits at home, crocheting you a nice little hat that you can wear on the town, little to know that you use that hat
I just
to
had
cheat on her.
Sbarro's the other night.
You cheat on Sbarro's with Popeye's chicken, admit it.
Because I like switching to different things. Just eating at one restaurant.
Eric,
sometimes you gotta try something new.
After a while.
Eric, we were talking about how Mullins is cheating on Sbarro's with Popeye's chicken, and I was just saying it's just kind of disingenuous that this guy professes his love, and here he is cheating on Sabaros. It's just he's a man of the town, I guess.
Cheater! Cheater! It doesn't surprise me. See, I've known Mullins for like 2.5 years, which is about how long I've been doing promo wrestling.
That's how long we all been doing it.
That's
Well,
right. 'Cause
Just about.
This little
Years.
wing, there's people that have been doing this since like AOL blogs and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, the Select Few's been doing this since
They
like
haven't
the
been doing
90s
this.
or early 2000s.
Yes.
have not been doing this. Now that's not fair to say. They have not been doing this. Now, if we're going to bring it back, and a lot of times, I've always said promo wrestling in a week is like a year, right?
Mhm.
So before we start this interview and get really deep into this conversation, there's so many things that have happened, and my memory gets a little twisted from time to time. I mean, there's just literally so much, but you just reminded me that in the very beginning, after the CPW launch, and after we started reaching out and trying to recruit the world, and we started finding these people, because automatically we obviously got led to the same places they did. We bring them in, they start saying, well, we've been doing this for years. But this video stuff you guys are doing is stupid. And that's what they would say. We do, okay, well, we're not doing the same thing. So as they wanted to continue to battle us and continue to say what we're doing was stupid and whatever, now, at one point in time, it did become where the writers and the video guys encountered each other, and this was a battle to figure out what was better. And I think we shut them down, and we shut them down real quick. I made a video, to put this in perspective, of me writing a promo. And it was vicious, I'll tell you what. And I think at that moment, they realized what they were doing was dumber than what we were doing. Now, some good writing from time to time is awesome. It's not that I want to put the writers down. We need the writers. I need writers in CPW, and I guarantee any other of these E-Feds, which I don't even know what I really want to call them. I call them groups on Facebook. It's a crazy group on Facebook, and we need the writers, man. We need writers in these groups. They can use their creative mindsets. They can make up all this different kind of stuff. They're just not making up their own characters that they can do whatever with. They make up the characters based off of the real videos and real visuals we're giving people, and they need to write what's transpiring, what they see transpiring within these matches.
You want to know? You're right that this is different. This is a whole different ballpark, a whole different beast. What we're doing. I once joined this group back in like 2008. It was like an internet forum. Do you guys remember the Xbox 360 game Legends of WrestleMania? It was like a time-based event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they were all really, really big and buff?
Yeah, kind of similar. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you'd hit the buttons like time-based. This group, this like little thread, you would create your story based on your wrestlers. So if you're The Rock or whatever in the roster, and then someone would write down the story. You guys would have a match over Xbox Live, and then based off of the winner, there would be like a results. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever been a part of. I was only a part of it for like 2 weeks, but that even is like another facet. Not what we're doing, different.
Different.
I remember that whole little group with you where you were like, video over written, come on now. I remember that. So that was a whole... like you said, I think we did cut, like, I shouldn't say we, because we do have a lot of great writers with us. Tom Collier stands out. Collier, Mullins.
He came in with us, though.
Exactly.
Collier didn't like come from one of those groups, but you know who did come from one of those groups? Justin Klein.
He came from a written group. He was doing written promos, that guy?
Not on Facebook, Brett. But Justin Klein was doing written promos in like the internet forums. Klein's been doing this for like 10, 15 years, he claims. Yeah.
I had no idea. That guy seems so perfect for videos. I mean, he knows how to chirp written-wise. He's like Thomas Austin, where he can do the video like outstanding, but he knows how to chirp with text. I had no idea. That actually blows my mind.
I know he gained the same heat in the written promos on the internet. I know that. I've ran into people that did that with him, that he somehow got to come to this. Now, Justin was actually much more into the videos. He thought the videos were way sweeter than written. Okay, now it sounded to me and it looked like to me that he was really good at it. And someone else, if you ever want to get more into the history of written promos and things like that, the person that you'd want to talk to is probably maybe either him, which I haven't talked to him much about it because it doesn't interest me all that much, but it'd be him or CC Sheldon.
Oh, CC's been around forever. That's Mullen's favorite person on the planet. Did you know?
No, he's not.
That's what you told me.
Mullins, you love CC. Why are you lying?
No, I don't.
What's wrong with CC?
Love lost between us.
Well,
So there
cannot
never
get
was
along.
love?
Mullins, why do you hate CC? Why?
Because he's a fucking dick. Straight up.
I don't
Mullins,
find that good enough
He
reason.
thinks he's better than everyone else.
Mullins, bring your laptop down. We got to see. You know, he thinks he's better than it.
Right.
Has he been rude to you?
Many times. That's why his ass is blocked.
Oh,
You blocked him. Well, maybe this could make the segment of things that piss you off.
this could actually the things that pissed Mullins off. CC Sheldon, number one. Actually, probably more than anything. If there's one person on this planet that Mullins
Public
hates,
Enemy number 1 right now. And then Public Enemy number 2 after the
I love
podcast
CC.
with Paul and Matt Miffy is Kyron Bell.
well,
He's Public Enemy number 2.
well,
We'll get into him too, huh? You want to talk about Kieran? Is
yeah,
it Kyron or Kieran? That's what I want to figure out.
Mullins says it's a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. I say it's Kieran.
I
The
think
people.
Kieran too.
Well, let's get right into it because we talked about how you kind of got knowing of the group. IPW, Kieran Bell is the granddaddy of that group. Let's talk about how you progressed in IPW and how eventually you became sort of.
Blackballed.
Yeah, let's use that word. That word is perfectly sums it up.
I got blackballed from IPW rather quickly. In the beginning, and I've seen, because I'm a huge fan of the podcast, even though you haven't had any real good guests up until now. It's true. It's true. I've been watching. I've been listening. I notice everyone wants to talk about me, so I wanted to come and talk about them. But Kieran himself, I want to start by saying he's a child. Kieran's a child. He's a child who got on and started doing this. Let's do this and this and this, you know. And I personally had no idea what we were actually doing. You know, I thought we were just like making up super make-believe storylines. And when I say super make-believe, I mean like this is absolutely 100% make-believe. Well, Kieran and I didn't have much of a relationship at all. And like I said, I won that match. That first match that I came in was in that very first pay-per-view. If I recall, it's called No DQ Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was part of No DQ Mania, and my match was against Christian Seibel for the Hardcore Championship of the World, which I won, which was awesome. And they gave me a lot of good feedback on my promo. People loved it. I was one of very few that even cut one. Because let's face it, in a group full of thousands of people, I guess not many people do have the balls to do this, which I don't know why. It seems to me like one of the easiest ways of going about what we are doing. I know that public speaking is scary, and so this is too. Don't get the wrong idea. This is a little bit frightening, but everybody has like dreams and things they want to go to, and at some point in life they got to do something like this, and there's nothing better to get used to it, you know? It's where you know there's a bunch of people watching, but you don't actually get that effect. You can do it live. You know, you do it when nobody's watching, and then you just have to have the balls to hit the button and share it. And people don't see things the same way you do. So even though you critique your own stuff like real bad, other people don't see it that way, and they actually find some kind of humor in it. You know what I'm saying? People love my stuff from time to time, and I watch it, and I was like, you know, I tried.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I'm God, and I can alter their thoughts. So even if they think they like something, who knows why they do it? Could be just because I made that happen.
Because you flipped the switch and you controlled their mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree there is a certain I'm definitely more critical on myself than others tend to be. I think Mullins would probably find the same thing too, which is why he takes so many cuts to do a promo when his second or third one's probably fine. So you said that Kieran is a child. Let's get into that further.
Is he still a child? He was a child 2 years ago. He may have grown into a man in the last 2 years. So I'm thinking he was like 16 or something like that at the time.
I have no contact with that guy. I don't think
You're not sure?
I don't think too many people do. He made a brief appearance in UPW. Matt Minnick brought him in. I think he lasted all of about a week and he was gone. So maybe he is still how you describe. I don't know. Let's get into that description, though.
Matt Minnick brought him in?
Am I wrong on that, Matthew Mullins? Did Kieran not?
Yeah, he came back briefly to the EFED world. He was GM for one of their shows, and then I think it lasted less than a month, and he was.
Because if my memory serves right, Minnick didn't come in until after, like right around the same time that, maybe even after you did, Brett.
Oh no, like, this is like recently. This was like 3 months ago.
Kieran came back recently.
Yeah, like Minnick, like Matthew Mullins said, he brought Kieran in for I don't know what it was, a month, less than a month, to manage one of the UPW shows, and he was gone. I don't know if Kieran has the personality or the skin that it takes to sort of
definitely not
be involved. Well, but he was really not the founder, but well, I guess you could say of No DQ Mania, and
he was the first owner of an EFED group.
Yeah, so let's talk
absolutely, and I have that respect for him, and I would bring him back to run CPW if he ever wanted to, just for that reason, just because he brought me into it.
So you say that you have that respect for him, and then you use a term like child to describe him. It indicates to me, at least, that there's somewhat of a complicated relationship there.
He made some mistakes.
Dig into him. What mistakes are we talking about?
Well, when it started, he was like, trying to run the group, and he was trying to do it as responsibly as he can, but as being just a kid, you know what I mean? I don't mean it in a I don't mean to degrade him. It's just the truth. He was a kid. He was a child. So we were doing this, and everything's going on, and Mullins ended up leaving, creating the CPW. It wasn't called CPW. It was called Jacksonville Promo Wrestling. I joined the group because I was invited to it. I think there was a little bit of excitement there where it's like, hey, Eric, this group is just now taking off. We're trying to really make it something like IPW or better. We think that you would be a good fit to help run the group. And I said, well, no, I'm IPW is where I do this, and I'm not looking for other places, and there's no reason for me to be, it's already taken enough time out of my life as it is. But this sounds like fun to me right now would be to, there was something going on in IPW. I don't remember exactly what, but I presented to Kieran. I sat down at the table, and where most promos were against whoever Kieran put us against, I was thinking to myself, it'd be a lot of fun to go against the boss. So I sat down at a kitchen table. I said, hey, Kieran Bell, I demand this and this and this, or I'm going to go over to this place that Mullins and these guys are running, and I'm going to run the show there. I'm going to accept the offer that they gave me. Well, I didn't understand that this was actually making people angry at the time. I thought it was all part of a big storyline, and these are just my honest feelings, my honest thoughts. I thought I was having fun with IPW, which I intended on being with until, I didn't know that these groups closed down and stuff at the time. I just thought they were like there, and I was lucky enough to be a part of one. Well, they kicked me from that group after that promo with like no warning, and I didn't realize that they also kicked CC Sheldon and a few other people, for not the reasons that you get kicked from a group now. We really understand this concept a little better nowadays. You really got to like step over some boundaries, say some words that are like banned, or like, do something really stupid.
Bring in someone's family or something awful.
Yeah, you got to do something awful to really, you got to be plotting way more than a storyline to get kicked from a group now. so once he kicked me from the group, I was like, well, screw it. I actually don't want to quit doing this. And I don't know of any other groups that are out there right now, so I guess we should make our own group, Mullins. And it was Mullins. So, well, that's another. We'll get to that real quick, I'm sure. So that's what happened when Kieran kicked me, and I was like, kind of angry at him, to be honest with you. But I did know, or I did find out. I didn't know at first, but I did find out that he was kind of just a kid, and it goes further to where when we were in CPW, that one guy started making like second profiles of me and Kieran, and he was like messaging everybody, like pretending to be me or Kieran, including Kieran. He didn't come to me pretending to be Kieran, but he did go to Kieran pretending to be me. And Kieran came back to my actual profile and was like, look, man, like, what's going on? And I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on right now, but I can assure you that these messages you were getting are not from me. And he wasn't sure what to believe. And I think that even and now everybody's it's out there that like that was absolutely not me. Whatever he was saying, everybody knows for a fact that wasn't me. But Kieran was stressed. He was legitimately stressed out from that situation, and being the kid or child that was, and even as a grown man to me, it started to seem a little bit dangerous. Not in it started to seem a little bit dangerous. Like there's weirdos and there's kids, and the weirdos are trying to take advantage of the kids. And this is just a little piece of what could happen early on in the stages. What could actually happen, Well, Kieran just bailed, and to be honest, I can't say that I don't blame him. I can't blame him. You don't know what kind of things could actually happen on the internet.
For those that may be a little bit out of the loop to what Eric's brought up here, we mentioned it near the end of the Matt Minnick, the Minnicks episode, and it was this Citizen X guy who brought in the Nazi gimmick. He wasn't. That's
another thing, yeah.
Yeah, I have a strong belief that the person making those fake accounts was the same person as the Citizen X gimmick.
Yeah.
Their grammar, the way they talked, the way they spoke, in terms of writing was very similar. And I was even approached by this fake Eric Jesse profile. And weird. Oh yeah. And I like weird messages to the point where I just get the fuck out of here because I knew that it was bullshit. You and I had actually had a separate conversation open. So when I get this new message from another Eric Jesse, right away, I'm like, yeah, get out of here. And it was right around the time of this Citizen X guy who thinks it's funny to bring in Nazis and all sorts of stuff, creepy stuff, over the line. There was another pedo running around. And like you said, it was sort of the summer of a couple creeps. And I ignored it. And well, maybe this will segue perfectly into the start of CPW, where we talked about Kieran and how, like, Kieran let that affect him personally.
Right.
Exactly. I think to add on to that, I think it's personally why he stepped away. I can't say for sure, but with all that, I think that's part of the reason why he kind of stepped away after closed IPW the first time, and then kind of stepped away after he reopened IPW.
That's why
he kind of stepped away because of all of that.
Mm-hmm. And so he steps away because he takes it personally. But hey, we have a situation here that we're about to dig into where a member of this very podcast took something happening in the promo wrestling community very seriously, and that was the transition of you, Eric, taking CPW from what was originally Mullins' creation. Let's talk about that.
Actually, I didn't create the group. Seibel did.
Okay,
I took it.
But
Seibel didn't want it anymore, so I took it over.
But it was your property.
You cannot remove the original admin of the group as an admin. Like, if I would have created the group, Eric would never been able to take it from me.
So that's how that happened. So Eric, talk us through that. You mentioned.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, only the original admin can leave. That is true. That's why when Kieran left IPW, Mullins went to the page and asked him if he wanted to be the new owner of the page. So, but let's talk.
Because if
about
I make somebody an admin, they can for sure kick me. Yep. At this
Oh,
point in
yes.
time, they can.
So,
They can remove you.
Mhm.
so let's talk about that though. Let's talk about the transition of Jacksonville Promo Wrestling to Championship Promo Wrestling and how Mullins sort of was removed, so to say.
Now, that happened real quick. Real quick. Within a couple days, couple hours of me being in
No,
there.
it was more about a week. I would say
You
a
sure?
week.
Maybe. It may have been. Like, again, my memory gets fuzzy. We get in. We start going over some stuff. It was me, Mullins, Walton, John Walton. Walton ended up kicking Mullins from the group. Now, I had to agree at the time that was bullshit. That was not very nice of John Walton. But Mullins wasn't very mature about the situation either, and they were both like coming at me. Walton telling me not to let Mullins back in the group. Mullins telling me to let him back in the group. I did eventually let Mullins back in. I told him, don't kick Walton. Let's work this all out. He said, okay. He came back in and kicked Walton right away. I mean, first thing he did when I had him back is he kicked Walton. So I was like, well, I do. You guys they kind of talked me into the idea of helping them run the group. And I started to realize, so maybe Mullins is right about the weak thing, because I started to realize that being the leader of this group wasn't like just being a leader of a group. It was like getting sent to hell before you made it, even had a chance to make it to heaven. I mean, it was like, this is a lot of work. A lot of work for nothing, really. You know, you don't get nothing back. And at the time, I just thought, I said, I'm not going to knock against the person because I didn't know these people. Okay, I didn't know Mullins, I didn't know Walton. But if I was going to dedicate myself, and I've already dedicated a couple hours, it wasn't that much because at this time I've dedicated a couple weeks, you know, like full straight time, guaranteed couple months, who knows. But at the time, I've already dedicated a couple hours. I realized how much hard work it was going to be. I wasn't going to put in any work to this place, this group, and have it even be an option where somebody could kick me out of it, and then it was just all for nothing. Mm-hmm. So that was the situation I was in, and Walton was kind of a turd, and Mullins kind of got the shit end of the stick, you know.
So. And so Mullins gets removed, and we talked about it in the last podcast. I want to bring it up again because, well, that one's gone and it never happened. But Mullins, you get removed. You start putting out some of the best promos of your career, even though it was such an unfortunate situation. Promos that, as I stated, made me pull over to the side of the road to watch because I had to hear what he was going to say. He was so impassioned. He was so driven. He was so emotional about it, which the best promos are based sort of in a reality of emotion. Mullins, what's going through your head when this happens? And do you regard those promos as much now as maybe, I mean, you can look back and go, that was a bad time, but do you not look at them and go, yeah, maybe they were some of my best work?
The only one that I really remember is the one where I got kicked for that promo I got kicked for. Definitely not my brightest. But I was going through a rough time at the time. I was battling depression on and off for several years at that point. And then that happened. So, you know, those things just doesn't mix.
Mm-hmm. But hey, like I said, and hey, this is going to sound, I swear to God, I'm not trying to reach here. I swear to God, this isn't some elaborate reach of mine. But some of the best works, not even promo wrestling, let's talk about art and whatnot. Some of the best artists that they create stuff, they go through a tragic time or they go through something really big and they express it because that's what this is. It is a form of expression. And bam, they create masterpieces. I honestly thought that these Mullins promos were masterpieces. Eric, what's going through your head when you kick Mullins? You're seeing these as an admin, and you're seeing these promos.
Masterpieces?
Yeah, really. That's what I'm going to call them, because I really think that was. Yeah,
they were. There was no doubt about it. They were the best. They might not be the best promos that Mullins has ever done. They might be the best promos that almost anyone's ever done. And CPW was built off of the fact that you could not be a part of the group, because if you weren't, you couldn't see what Mullins was creating at that point in time, and everybody was talking about it. And for a couple of weeks there, it was, how long can I keep Mullins going? How long can I keep, and what I kind of did, and it might sound terrible now, but for the sake of what we do and how good it was, I kind of baited him in, and said, hey, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was like, hey, I'll add you back, just do this. And then right before he'd have to do a match, I'd kind of make sure to set him off again. And he would go at it, and people I didn't know, people were pulling over on the side of the road, like, but I don't know what I was doing, but I would have pulled over to watch that. It was that good.
Well, as someone who, at that time, when that was happening, I was IPW exclusive because there was no other real groups, but there was the CPW group that it was hard to not catch, and I had seen your work in IPW. You and I had faced each other a couple times, so I knew, okay, you have that sort of personality that is sort of a cult of personality type. And so I knew, okay, whatever's going on this other block, it's worth my attention. But when this whole Mullins thing started, and this whole war, and at this point I was good friends with Mullins, but I respected you a hell of a lot as a competitor. And so my attention from IPW shifted. I started going, well, CPW, this is crazy. This is
crazy. And I got a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys that were, I don't know if, everyone knew that the reason I got kicked was very petty. And everyone knew I was in it for good fun at the time, B, the champion thing that was going on with Britton and Paul was very obvious that it was being sold to us like you're going to get judged promos, and they weren't being judged. It was just being picked. And CC was kicked, and he had a very, people didn't know who he was or what he was about yet, but people knew that he had a good mind for the business. So it was Baron, CC, and Paul that we brought over. And when I say we, it was me and Gary McFly who actually started the real grind in CPW that brought it to kind of where it's at today. We thought of the name of the company. We thought of the that's about it. And then that's when the whole kicking thing happened.
When I was still kind of in charge, that's when the name CPW came up, is when I was still in control.
You were there. Right. Mm-hmm. And that was about it. And then, boom, the whole mess happened, which was another work. And now this wasn't like my work in IPW. This was a little bit more gruesome. At the same time, I didn't know what kind of mind games that I was playing, whatever. But then we bring Baron in, Paul Bellelio. Paul becomes the champ, and he was the champ in CPW, and he could never get that championship in IPW, even though he really deserved it. Mm-hmm. Big T, and we got like more of these bigger names, these more influential people to make that jump. And as the team, we started really recruiting a lot of people, where we got, our Randy King and T-Berg were some of the very first people I remember recruiting. We got guys like Hobo Joe.
I forgot about That's a blast from the past. Wow.
Yeah,
there's probably, I'm trying to think. In the very beginning, Dan Brass, who's just now making a comeback, we found him. We found our Chris Brayley. Some of these guys may not have made promos right away, but eventually they got into it, after watching it for a while. We found all these people. I mean, we grew the group from 50 people to 300 people just by Gary was the man. Gary's who made that initial like jump from a little bit to a lot of it. Not even a lot of it, just, to get enough people into where we had shows going on. Gary was the man. Where he'd make these posters and stuff like that, do things different than other people.
Well, and, we've spoken on this podcast a lot about IPW, its positive and its negatives, but as someone who, Baron and I were in the mid-card there, fighting it out, putting out what I thought were some of the best promos. Paul was there killing it. And this is no disrespect to Matt Britton, who is a hell of a promoer. But I thought Paul should have been winning the World Heavyweight Championship. I thought Baron and I should have been given more of a spotlight. I thought that IPW, run by Kieran, had its favorites, as has been mentioned. And as soon as you guys started with the help of Gary and you guys were really starting to roll, it was I almost compare it to how WCW in 1997, 96, it's sort of, you looked at it and you went, that's how it should be. Because it was like, you're giving opportunities to people who deserve it, not for people who are favorites, but people who are actually putting in the work and deserving it. That's something that CPWA can still claim today. That is, as a competitor there,
absolutely,
you guys can still claim that. And it just felt more raw. It felt more real. It felt less manufactured. That was my first impressions of it, and that's why eventually I made the jump. I think it was in May. You brought up the posters. I think that was really the inaugural thing that brought me there, was the CPW Battle Royal, which, if we can find the poster, we'll bump it. This was something that Gary made. It was an old Royal Rumble poster from WWE, and he took the faces of every one of the competitors. No one had done this before, and he put them on every wrestler. So I remember I was like, oh, look at me. I'm on Shawn Michaels. And you, Eric, you're at the front. You're on John Cena's
John Cena, yep.
Yeah, I think we had Bizarro on Undertaker. That's Brian Carr. He was on Undertaker. Baron was on, I can't remember. Anyways, we'll find the picture. We'll post it, and CPW will bump it up again.
We can definitely find it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke about it last time. When you go from a Fed where you maybe don't feel like you're being truly appreciated, and you pop into somewhere that actually some person on management took the time and the effort to make this poster, put your face on it, and Tom's on there, Anton's on there. I mean, everyone's on there. Matt Minnick's on there. And they take the time to do that. That's what sealed the deal for me, and I think it sealed the deal for a lot of people to say, you know what? This is my new home. Because these guys actually care about the competitors. They're not just saying that, they're showing it, literally, with the poster. You have to remember that Battle Royal. That was such a great time.
It's a classic. That's a classic. Yeah, I don't remember who won.
I did. I actually won that battle. I did win that Battle Royal.
Yeah, it was you versus Bizarro, right?
Or you know what, actually? It might have even been a draw between me, Bizarro, and someone else. Or no, it was me and Bizarro that tied, and we faced Minnick for the title. And that's when I won the CPW World Heavyweight title. Yes,
that's what happened. It was a tie, and then we did a triple threat.
And it was in that Brian Carr actually went out and dug a grave during that time period. Yeah. This, to me, I don't know if you'll agree, Eric, that May, June of 2015, that defined CPW for me. That was the defining era of what this is going to be about. It's going to be competitors taking it to the next level. It's going to be management going out the extra level. And it's going to be putting up a competition that is just unrivaled. Unrivaled. It's raw. It's real. What do you think? Is that the defining moment of CPW?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the way you just described it, absolutely. When you go back and watch that promo, you see the faults in it, and you know, where we've seen so many promos and so many good promos, but at that time, that was the one that took it to a new level. Took it to we'll actually step outside of our house and do something crazy. You know, like let's really try to get people watching. We understand what people want to see now. That was one of the very first that was a little bit, not in the room where you said earlier, no disrespect, but Matt Britton's a great pro. I didn't see it that way. No disrespect, but Matt Britton bores the shit out of me. But no disrespect, of course. I mean, we'd sit in his room with his hood up and turn the dark side, the lights down, and he'd kind of talk like this, and I'd be like, shut up, Matt Britton. Paul, on the other hand, was like really deep into his character and a little louder, and when it came down to who I believed would walk down to the ring and kick somebody's ass, I believed that Paul would kick the living crap out of Matt Britton. And when it was like Matt Britton just kept on winning, over, it was like it wasn't like once or twice. It was like Matt had like 4 promos that you knew won every single time, and he just got screwed, And then he came over to CPW, and to be honest, at the time, nobody could still hang with Paul. Nobody was really hanging with Paul, Paul was kicking your ass. And I had to tell Paul, and whatever, the predetermined crap, whatever. I had to tell Paul man to man, I said, look, dude, I said, this is wrestling. You can't just go and win every match. You're not Goldberg. I said, we got to find somebody that could beat you. You got to, like, pretty much, like, just know you're going to lose that title, and then we'll get it back around your waist. But then you'll be a 2-time world heavyweight champion, and other people will be happy too, because I got to make other people happy. I can't just sit here and keep you happy. It's not going to work like this, So it was like, that's kind of where the first, in CPW, the first like fixings of a match. So we brought Matt Minnick in. We had him face Paul. Sorry, Matt, but we just like said, hey, Matt, you're the winner. And Paul didn't take too kindly to this. Even though we talked about it beforehand, he still kind of like hated what just happened. And he just gave up. He was just like, forget it, And it was like, okay, whatever. Thank God we picked Matt, because Matt's kicking butt right now too. There's basically nobody at that time. Now there's like basically nobody that could beat Matt, So
it was
kind of it was kind of weird. But then you came over a little bit later than that, like right after all that happened, because this is all happening. This ain't happening within like months of time. This is happening within like days, like a couple days. And then you came over, and then we got like these Randy King people and these people and those people, and we had a problem where we're trying to make everybody that came in, because of what defined us, we wanted to make sure everybody felt like they had a shot, and that became tricky. So now we're really trying to figure out who's okay with like losing, and who's here for fun and who's here to win, and what guys do we want to make sure they get to the top because they're not going to cause problems when they get there. And you know what I'm saying? There's like so much more that goes into the thought process. People started calling us predetermined, which wasn't really the case. We were really doing our best to judge these things, which was hard with no,
Well, and that's the thing. With promo wrestling, there's always going to be some form of predeterminedness, even if you're the most competitive fed, which right now, PWS is probably that, just in terms of it's not really an active fed, so there's really no bias. They don't really have a reason to need to put someone over. So that's probably, but even in that sense of other feds, which, ultimately competitive, there's going to be some semblance of predeterminedness. There's going to be some sense of direction where you want it to go, just because it's how it's going to have to go. I know as a competitor in competitive feds, there's been times where I've said to the referee, maybe it's best to give the opponent the win here, because if you're going to have a series of 3 matches and the one guy wins the first 2, why the hell are you having the third? Why are you having
Absolutely.
Why are you having that series if this person's going to win the whole time?
So
carry on, Eric.
So you bring that up, and that a lot of people don't know this. But when I made up the Mullet Man, the reason I made him up was because we needed more people to lose because everybody was so gung-ho on winning. Because everybody was so obsessed with winning that I made up the Mullet Man just to not to give everybody the losses, but because in my head I needed to set the example that I could have more fun than everybody else and lose every single match. That I didn't need a championship. I didn't need to win any matches at all. I'd have more fun doing this, losing them all, and to this day, I believe I did. To this day, I believe I had more fun as the Mullet Man. Now, you got the Raccoon Boy, which I'm not too hip to, but just you, period, you're one of the few exceptions. I can't think of many other, dude. I mean, I can't think of many other that actually care. That Randy King was a good example. Randy King could make a very good story out of a loss and still have fun, even though he lost. He wouldn't get butthurt about it. Just about everybody else, even if they say they don't, to this day, you know what I mean? If they swear to God they don't, people really do get upset when they lose.
Yeah, they do. And I try to look at it. That's why I had to change my perspective on it. And you and I have had many conversations about this, both in comments on CPW, but private message, where I view this. I think I even mentioned it in the Hall of Fame induction or whatever it was, that you almost have to view this, like I said earlier, an expression. If you try to view this completely competitive, you're going to get your heart broken. But Mullins, this is where I want to bring you in. You're someone who you view this as a supreme competition, and losses aren't your favorite thing in the world. Do you agree with Eric and I that maybe, it's more about the fun of it? Or what about you? You've said before that it's no fun when you lose, but tell us why. Why can't you?
Well, it's just depending. It's not fun if you're constantly losing, constantly over and over and over again. For me, that takes the fun out of it. I don't mind losing as long as I can win some as well. If I can win, I have no problem losing as well. Like my latest run in CPW, that's what I was doing. I was winning some, I was losing some, and I had no problem doing that. I actually enjoyed my latest run in CPW, which I'm actually planning on returning to CPW as competition. I just don't know when yet.
So Eric, carry on, Mullins.
But like I said, I don't know when that's going to be yet.
Well, so Eric, would this not prescribe how Mullins feels, where you win some, you lose some, but you're kind of having fun? Would this not prescribe sort of like how you said the problems you had with Paul, where you can't be winning all the time? Does this not feed directly into that, where if you want more people to have fun, you're going to have to sometimes tweak the results just to sort of create that community?
Sometimes you really want to. That's for sure. And my feelings towards that were I just have to stop doing it. I just can't do it no more. And now I have it to the point where other people ref the matches, and I like to just sit back because I'm not in a bunch of groups. I don't like to get involved, but I still enjoy the groups to the point where I want it to be a show to me. So I got the people running the group, and when results are posted, it's a complete surprise to me as well. But yeah, I think that you're like, oh man, dude, this guy's been working so hard. He's been putting out great promos. But we just put him in this match. When you put out a lot of good promos, we want to put you against guys that are just as good. And you put you out there and you're like, man, you've been losing, but you're producing these great promos. You're really entertaining the crap out of us. But you lost again. And you want to be like, well, maybe you didn't lose, so we'll just give you the win here. But then the other guy is going to be upset now too. So it's a really thin line you got to walk. And there was moments there where definitely things have been reversed or things have happened in the past. Over time, we figured out you can't make everybody happy as hard as you try. So we really stopped trying to make everybody happy, and we just kind of put it out there how it is, But you can be assured that you're going to get a compliment, at least from me. You know, it might not be from everybody, but that's not CPW's fault. That's this community's fault. And I've done my best part to try to fix that. And who knows where it's going to go, you know? Who knows?
Well,
maybe one day we'll all get it.
Before we talk about, because I do want to get into the community support for promos, but one of the things that we had been talking about here is sort of giving people a chance, sort of doing that. One of the things that I notice about CPW that a lot of other feds either haven't grasped or just refuse to. I don't know what the reason is, but the one thing that CPW has done well in the past, and in my opinion continues to do well, is take these people, and this starts from the root, who maybe haven't been given a fair shot, give them a shot of confidence, give them a real run, and in turn, they produce some of the best promos that they've ever done. Two examples scream out to me from CPW, and that's Christian Seibel, who I think won his really only major World Heavyweight Championship in CPW, and you, Matthew Mullins, who the promo you cut on Seibel to win that World Heavyweight Championship was very damn good. So, Eric, we talked about, okay, maybe you can't, tweak the results. Maybe you want to, you can't. But does giving these sort of natural underdogs a chance just to succeed sometimes goes long enough to actually produce promos that actually can't be beat, because they actually have that confidence and they actually have that belief in management that, you know what, I am as good as everybody in here and I'm going to show it?
I think that Seibel is the best example of that, where if you get behind Seibel and you really pump him up, man, he goes out and he feeds off that energy like nobody else. Like nobody else. You can really influence him to think he is the god that I actually am. And I don't know. Yeah, Seibel was when we went to PWS, right? It was a PWS tournament, and we were like, Seibel, I want you to represent CPW in the PWS tournament. All these other guys, in PWS picking guys, or PWA was picking Legion Cole, and whoever else, Matt Minnick and Stephen Barron, all these like really high touted promo wrestlers, who at the time were also a part of all these other groups. It was like, well, Seibel cares about this more than all of you. Seibel actually cares about this. Is Seibel's life. This is what Seibel does. He works at the grocery store, and he's the superstar, and he's a darn good superstar. So we're going to put him out there, and me and Cowan got behind him, and we made up this dance, where we all like got in our underwear, and like, I can't remember, it was a certain song we did it to. And like Andrew Buell was brand new to the group at the time, CPW, and he came in and he did it, and we all built this, like, not only did Seibel get this boost of confidence, but a lot of us got this other bond, that was like, this is the mission, and we're pushing towards it. And man, did we push Seibel through that competition. I don't think he ended up winning it in the end, but shortly after that, he did win this championship, Promo Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. And it's not that was predetermined. It's that Seibel was, dedicated and really kicking ass. And then Mullins saw, hey, man, Seibel did it over there. Well, maybe I could do it over there too. And Seibel came over with that confidence, or Mullins came over with that confidence and kicked Seibel's ass. No, obviously that's where things went south with Seibel. One loss, it's like, hey, dude, I don't know what to tell you. You've been kicking butt too, and maybe you just had an off day, because any day you can have an off day when you need to cut a promo, especially when you're cutting so many of them. One of these days you're going to have a time where it's not that great, and Mullins legitimately beat Seibel, and Mullins was the champion, and all this work we put into Seibel was literally out the window in the snap of a finger. And to all the guys that put that into him, they were kind of offended, and he lost that. He lost that backup that he got, because it wasn't that we all gave up on him. He gave up on us, Mm-hmm. So it was like, oh, whatever.
Well, and even that came at a time when Seibel didn't have too many fans outside of CPW. He had already burned quite a few bridges, but he had that CPW support and what you guys did for him. And you know what? Seibel does have character issues, and we can bring up a million things he said wrong or did wrong, but that guy was an underdog by every letter of the definition.
Exactly.
But you guys really went to bat for him. I remember that PWS competition, and I don't think any other Fed on the planet would have done that for him. And I think that showed, we talked about CPW's defining moment, but I think that went a long way to showing sort of the character of CPW. CPW gets this sort of bad rap, not bad rap, but sort of a, you know what I mean, Eric? Yeah, exactly. But what other Fed in promo wrestling would have done that? I don't think they're
none of them. And there's a good reason why, because they couldn't have. They couldn't have done that. Because at the time, PWS is what? PWS was a proving grounds to see who had the best Fed. I don't know if that's how PWS set it up to be, but that's what it became. It became a big competition to see who was the best. And it was personal to me because we've been around the longest. Everyone's been trying to take us down for I don't know how long. It's always all these different groups trying to be as good as us. Well, I could throw all these guys out there that you guys have taken from my group. Or I could take the underdog, the guy that nobody stood a chance at winning, and I'll make him win this competition because he's got our group behind him. And that was my concept behind it. Well, Seibel, who nobody in the world would ever imagine to win this competition, and he didn't win the competition, but he made it to the final. So it was, and that was my concept behind the whole thing was it's not what the people do sometimes, it's what the people around him are saying in the comments and how much action they're getting, how many likes they're getting, the support that they're getting that fuels them and makes them excited. Like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. I got this burst of energy. It's almost like doing drugs, You're like, whoo, just got a bunch of likes. People like this stuff. I want to go do another one. I want people to watch, and Seibel has that in him, which I do too, and I think you do too, and I know Mullins does. There's a certain feeling.
Factor. Factor.
The it factor. Yeah, there's something about it.
Mullins, talk about that because, the CPW is a main Fed. You won the World Heavyweight title there. What did it feel like to have such a big Fed actually give you a chance to compete? You won that. That was a great promo. You legitimately deserved to win that. How did it feel to actually have that opportunity in front of you and to seize it?
Oh, man, it was really great. I can't believe it's already been a year already since that happened. Almost a year, but I don't know. I wonder if I could ever keep that. Just like one of those things, people were saying, oh, he got lucky. Only reason why he won it was because I don't know. Is it, we go back to Kyron Bell's playing favorites. And I truly believe if Kyron Bell would add his way about it, IPW title tournament finals, Baron wouldn't have won that. If Kyron Bell would have had his way, I would probably beaten Baron for the IPW world title. If Kyron had his way.
But you did actually get the support of a Fed, which you hadn't had for a long time. You hadn't had. You got it from CPW. Now, Eric, you brought up something there.
An opportunity that other Feds
wouldn't, and that I swear.
It's like when WPW first opened under the new name. There was a fatal four-way match to crown a new world champion. Pulled from that match after I legitimately earned my spot into that match. Me out of the match saying, oh, it's because I was too loyal to Kyron Bell. No disrespect to him. Fuck! What kind of excuse is that?
And no
Although I would
disrespect,
probably lost that match, but still.
no disrespect to Matt Meffy and Walter Main, but the fact that they named their group WPW and their whole claim to fame was that they're the new IPW, I thought that was the dirtiest, grimiest way to try to get ahead of CPW that they could think of. And to this day, they'd probably tell you that that was true, that they were trying to carry on what Kieran did, but really they were just trying to take all the fame for themselves. They weren't doing nothing for Kieran.
They even mentioned that on the podcast.
They weren't doing nothing for Kieran, but that was their whole gimmick.
Mentioned that.
So you
No
still
disrespect.
you still feel that way, that was a direct shot to try and underhand CPW and try and get people back there under what I would assume you'd call false pretense.
I don't think I feel that way. I know that's what happened. That's exactly what was happening. Kieran didn't want no part of it.
Well, and you fought back. Well, yeah, he certainly didn't. And we got into the sort of discussion there. But you guys kept on rolling. We talked about the Battle Royal. We talked about Minnick won the title from Paul. Then I won it. We and him went back and forth with it. Big T eventually gets it. We go into the summer. Talk about that sort of the last couple years of CPW from that opening stage. I mean, there's been ups, there's been downs. There's been different management in CPW. CC's been there, then CC's been out. Then Dylan Mays was there, then he was pissed off, then he's back. I mean, try and talk about that, and then we'll get into sort of the broader, because once we get a better understanding of the history, like this sort of tail end of CPW, not tail end, but the most recent history of CPW, then let's get into the theory of it. But let's talk about how CPW has transitioned from that early wave into where it's at today.
Okay. Well, yeah, we had a lot of people. Or CC sometimes came to the point where he made so many people angry. I would tell CC flat out, look, you need to take some time off. I need you here, you know, and I stick by that. If CC wanted to come back, I would be like, look, dude, I'd love you to come back, but you need to quit. If you're going to be in that position for CPW, you need to quit pissing so many people off, you know, because I can't think of no other way to put it. But the way CC makes people angry, the people that get angry at CC, it's like, it's like, what's wrong with you? You know, he's not really doing anything wrong to you. Everything CC's doing wrong to you is 100% and no more outside of what's going on in this group. He is always in character. You message him in a private message and call him whatever his name is, he'll tell you it is Mr. CC. That's what you talk to me. You address me as Mr. CC because that's what I do when I'm here doing this wrestling stuff. And people got so upset at CC to this day. They still get upset with CC. Mullen's number one thing that ticks him off is CC. But he's not like, you know, he's not like, hey, you are not taking care of your family and you should probably go get a better job. And your life is shit. You know, CC's making some stupid comments about promo wrestling. Now, when you're making some stupid comments about promo wrestling, I don't imagine that you get the exact kind of treatment that CC has got. Now, that's my own personal opinion. A lot of people don't agree with me. Whatever, you know. So CC never quit. I would have to give CC time off. And he's one of the best helps I've ever had. He's one of the people that put more work into making all this happen before there was a million promo groups. And I think CC personally deserves a lot more credit. Now, the problem is that it's not only the competitors, but the people that you bring in that try to help to run the group. CC also doesn't work well with them either. At the same time, it's to him in character, but it makes it hard to deal with. Even for me, myself, which the people that work under CPW, sometimes they come at me in a way where it's like, whatever, you know, taking this a little more seriously than I anticipated, but just, I don't feel like dealing with it right now, so just have your way. But CC wasn't that way, you know?
Yeah.
Dylan was another guy. Dylan's back with me now, and that's a blessing. Dylan's the next best thing to CC, and Dylan's better at working with people. Dylan's better at listening to other people's grievances and making the best out of it, you know. But Dylan came over and he didn't agree with something, whatever it may have been. I didn't give Dylan his way, and he left and made PWA, which at the time was the worst thing he could have ever done. But when it comes down to it today, it basically makes Dylan God Jr., you know, and Dylan is the only person besides me and Gary who, you know, but not Gary, just me, because Gary gave up and Gary never came back. So whatever, you know what I'm saying? I still have all the respect in the world for Gary, but Dylan has been here as hard as he tries to get away from it. He's still here. He does the recruiting. He finds all these new people for us to see from time to time, so it's not this boring old same group, you know. Dylan went out and gave me some competition, some legit competition, you know, someone that I couldn't just shut down. I always felt like, and no disrespect, but Matt Meffy and Walter Main, they weren't nothing, dude. You know, taking them on was like, to me, in my opinion, didn't feel like a challenge, even a little bit. But Dylan, even though I may have not have showed it at the time, he was a challenge. You know, it was really hard to keep up with him for more than one reason. Not only was he doing such a great job, it was hard to keep up with him on a talent type level, but it was just hard to stay that dedicated. The guy's dedicated to this day. He still really puts a lot into it. Not as much as he did at that time, but that kind of gave me a little extra drive. So we kind of, I think that I'd imagine he was feeding off me from the way things looked, and I was feeding off him, and we were trying to be better than each other, and boom, you know, PWA grew large, CPW grew large. We'd have 1,000 members. Well, Dylan had 1,000 members a couple of weeks later, and we had to keep going, you know. I think that's where I was like, whatever. Both of us kind of quit caring about the members after 1,000. Thomas Austin added like 300 to each group.
But there was genuine competition there between
genuine competition, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I remember the members wars, because you guys, at that point in time, before that whole explosion happened, no group had even pondered over 1,000 members, and it was like bam, overnight, CPW over 1,000, PWA over 1,000, a whole bunch of new eyes turned onto the product, and man, it was a slugfest. PWA, Dylan, we've had people on this podcast who have said, I think Steinberg said it as well, that Dylan Mays is one of the most impassioned people in promo wrestling. Certainly that would lend credence. I mean, when you start adding, well, Thomas Austin, he doesn't give a shit. The man will cut a promo in the middle of a convenience store. But yeah, when you're ready to add anyone and everyone and be like, I don't care what you see, but I want you to help grow this group, you got to be pretty damn passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan, which is amazing now because we got me and Dylan on the same team again. You know, and that, to this, you know, Ryan Steinberg, no disrespect, but Ryan Steinberg's kind of doing the Matt Meffy, what Matt Meffy and Walter did to Kieran, which he's got PWA. Well, PWA was Dylan's. Well, somehow they all turned on Dylan but CPW kind of did with Dylan, almost like they did with Cyber. We got behind Dylan. We said, hey, man, you know, we see what you're doing.
On that was Dylan Mays, Ryan Steinberg was doing so good of a job with running the group. Dylan decided to give them, and then I guess he decided to come back and take it from him. I don't know what completely happened.
It was always his group. It's not like he was like, Ryan, you can't do nothing anymore. It's like he was like, Ryan, you know, this is my group. Thanks for taking care of it. Daddy's home now, you know? And I'm sure he wouldn't have had a problem, because I talk to Dylan on a regular basis. He's a very reasonable person. there was something going on there where they didn't want to have his help anymore. They didn't want to they were disrespecting the work that Dylan put in, because without the work that Dylan put in, Ryan wouldn't have had a group to do a good job with. So let's see Ryan start. Yeah, let's see Ryan start with nobody. You know what I'm saying? With no connections, and do what he did, like what Dylan did, to do what he did, like what I did. You know, we started with nobody. We started with Randy King in the freaking dark, and we had to straight up teach people how to do this, how to get out of the dark and come alive. And Ryan's great, man. Ryan is a great person. He's great at what he does, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Dylan. I hate the no disrespect thing, because I don't really care if you feel like I'm disrespecting you or not. These are my feelings. You know, this is how I feel. Ryan did a great job, but Dylan's the man. PWA wasn't made by Ryan. PWA never was Ryan's, and it never will be Ryan's. It will always be Dylan May's creation, and we all see it that way.
No, I agree with that. If you verbally agree to say, okay, I'm handing the keys over to you, the group's yours, you can do whatever you want with it, just take it back from them without saying, you know, messaging them, say, hey, I kind of want the group back. You know, I think the situation was all fucked up.
Who knows how it really happened? I don't know how it really happened, but I can tell you what I see from the outside looking in. I know that I gave the group to Randy once. I said, Randy, you do whatever with this group that you want to. What did Randy do? Randy gave up on my group and decided to go have a merger. And when this merger happened, it wasn't like we were going to combine CPW and PWA. It's like we were giving up CPW to PWA. The merger between CPW and PWA was going to be, now we call PWA, we're just getting rid of CPW, and the management, the guys that we have working for CPW, are now going to work for PWA. And that's how that works. And that didn't work out, mainly because I came in and just like Dylan did to Ryan, whatever Ryan was doing that he didn't agree with, you know, he was like, hey, this is bullcrap. This ain't what I wanted. We're trying to savor CPW. Dylan's trying to savor PWA. You know, we have this certain way we go about things, and it's not going to change. That's not what when I gave the group to you, that's not what I envisioned. And granted that me and Randy didn't see eye to eye on this, I gave it a shot because Randy asked me to. And when I said, forget this, me and Randy are still friends today. He's not active in the community, but if we were to talk to each other, there's no hard feelings. You know, that's the thing, is promo wrestling is make believe, while the friendships that we make in promo wrestling may be actually real. You know, and when we're actually dealing with this kind of thing, especially when it comes to like the success of the group, is it actually, even though it's fake, it actually means something to the people that do it. Mm-hmm. For me, if I would have came into this 6 months after I did, if I would have came into this once CPW, PWA, FPW, all these groups were already made, I'd be an advocate to say, well, I'm exclusive to a certain group. I'm exclusive to CPW because it's mine, so I can't really make that point. But CPW's been around for longer than any of the other ones that anybody's a part of. So for me to say, well, we're shutting down to group up with these other people is just, it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to do that. So we're not going to do that. So we're just going to continue with the best people in the business, which we so happen to, luckily, out of nowhere, because it seems like CPW might shut down from time to time, and then we pick up somebody that's just there, man, that's just the perfect fit at the time, and it's unkillable. You can't kill the beast. You know, you just can't.
There's certainly been moments in CPW's history where you look at it and you go, like you said, oh, what are we doing? And then, bam, picks up. We get some controversy. We get a new talent. You know, something draws us back in. People get burnt out. I've succumbed to that. Other people have. And then they come
Still
back
burnt
and
out.
who is?
Me.
You are. So there you
I'm
go.
burnt out.
You're still burnt out. I'm feeling a sort of resurgence. You come back with a new thing, so you get return of people, and the environment is constantly changing. But Eric, you currently have CPW. It's one of the main groups, if not, it's definitely one of the top groups. There's no denying that. You've got a ton of members. You got a ton of activity. Like you said, you got some damn fine talent there. Your new world heavyweight champion, Matt Applin, or is it Alpin? Applin, right?
It's a good question. I think it's Applin.
Applin. I think it's Applin too. Matt, if I get that wrong, I'm very sorry. But ton of great talent, new talent coming up, spurning. I mean, it's firing. You're exclusive to CPW pretty much because that's your focus. Like you said, you don't go in a whole lot of other groups, but you have to have some semblance of an idea of what's going on outside of the CPW borders. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. But how do you gauge that external environment right now? Or do you just blinders CPW, like it, leave it, whatever the hell's on the outside, I don't care. How do you view the current environment outside of CPW, or do you even view it?
I don't view it. I don't know. I don't know who the champion of any of the groups is. I don't know. What I do know is now that Matt Applin's the champion of CPW, that he's going to get a boost in every other group he goes into. I do know that. What I do know is that when I seen Matt Applin with a belt that he made up, that maybe he went to the store and bought some paper or whatever he did and printed some, however he made this belt that he was holding the other day, that it meant something to him. I don't know what it meant to him. I don't know how important it is to him, but I know it made me as a person feel good. And I know I've had that feeling multiple times over time that we did this to the right person, that the right person is getting the shot here. And it makes me feel like a good person. I know that Jason Terry was an amazing champion in CPW and that he may not have deserved to lose the belt. But when Matt Applin got the belt, what he's doing with it right now is that it was not a bad decision at all. And I didn't make that decision. It just happened. I watched the show. I'm not in the ref chat. I don't know what happens in that chat, and I want to keep it that way. There's a certain way that these groups are made. People get over, people don't get over. You got to make friends with the right people. It's all part of the game that we play. How do you do it, Since we're podcasting, we're real, I could tell you that if I was reffing the match between you and Jason Sanders, that before the match happened, I would have been wishing that you lost. And that's because I know how much work Dylan was putting in and how excited Dylan came to me in a private message, so excited, legitimately excited. Hey, I got this great match going on. It's never been done before. These two guys have never been against each other, and we're going to have this in CPW. I'm super pumped about it. And we had Michael Procopio, who was another great GM for me. God knows what happened. I have no idea what happened that ticked him off at me so bad. I have small ideas, but from what he's saying, what I'm saying, it just doesn't add up. He's still part of the group of CPW. He calls it his home. I don't believe that. I think that it's a tactic that he uses to try to suck information out of the group because he wants to be a part of it. Dylan blocked him from the group, and I don't blame him. And the reason he blocked him from the group is because he booked you versus Ethan Carnage in a match in PWA with no build-up the week before it was the main event of the pay-per-view that we've been building for a month in CPW.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason that I'd be more mad at you than I would at Jason Sanders or Ethan Carnage is because I know you. I don't really know him.
Yeah.
I don't know what the whole... And if it was, I wouldn't even have known that. I wouldn't even have known. You guys had that match. I got no freaking idea. I'm not a part of PWA. I talked to Ryan Steinberg, but this whole situation comes about, and I'm like, well, screw it. Block Michael Procopio. So he can't do that to us no more. And Dylan already did. Dylan's like, I already did. And I was like, all right, cool. We don't have that problem no more. I'm looking at a problem right now, which is with somebody else. I noticed something the other day, and some may call me paranoid, but let's put it out there. We're on a podcast. You want to know the real me? Joshua McClain sees this guy, Dan Brass. Dan Brass, who we may not know, was one of the CPW originals. I see a comment on his post where he's asking people to do videos. Now, Dan Brass is freaking amazing. So anybody who's watching this right now, go check out his promos. He's the preacher. He's a real wrestler in England, you know. He's not in the WWE or anything like that, but he does this, and his promos are good as well. Well, he's asking people to ask him questions so he can respond to the questions. And McClain puts Ryan Steinberg, okay, so we got the general manager of PWA, telling the guy who owns the place, Ryan Steinberg, check this out. And that's it. They didn't ask him a question. They're not showing any actual, like, you know, they're liking it, they're loving it. They're trying to get Dan Brass to come to PWA. I see that, and it's like, well, if I say anything about it, I'm just a paranoid freak, and that's how everyone's going to treat me. But that is how I feel. That's how I feel. I feel like, and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm freaking wrong. If I was to act like the paranoid freak I am, ask Dan, hey, did these guys ask you to join this group? What do you think the answer is going to be? Hey, Dan, how many groups have people asked you to join? So that's the other thing. There's so many people in CPW. There's so many people in all these other groups. They see a promo, and instead of liking it, they're just trying to get that person to come to their group. And in return, we got this awesome fucking promo guy who's getting 4 likes, and it's from, you know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't he get, we got 1,000 people in the group. I know a lot of them do, we got at least 50 of them that are doing promos here or there or anywhere else. Where's all the likes? Where's all the support for these people? You know?
Well, let's get into that. Before we get into that, I owe you an explanation about the PWA CPW thing. Dylan Mays approaches me, asks if I've ever faced Jason Sanders in a match. I say no, but I've watched his stuff. I want to be facing him. Haven't faced him yet. I get all pumped up about this match in CPW. We're going to build to it. We're going to have a contract signing. We're going to do some hypes. Fantastic. I get a notification on my phone the one day, like you said, no real build. PWA's booked me in a match against Jason Sanders. Well, I'm sort of in an awkward position here because I go, well, shit, like CPW's building up this match. PWA's put me in this other one. I've committed to PWA. I mean, you know, I'll compete, but I know what I've got going on in CPW. And CPW, if for those of you that don't know, CPW is always going to be my home. That's where I got my start. I owe everything to CPW. IPW is where I got my start. CPW is the place where actually treated me like how I thought I should be treated, which might take that as ego. It's not. That was the place that actually allowed me to grow, allowed a lot of people to grow. But regardless, so I go, well, fuck, like, here's CPW. I got this match. I mean, what do you do? Well, I still had a week. So I'm like, well, okay, you know what? I'll deal with this throughout the week. Well, working 40 hours a week, going to school 40 hours a week, your time, you start to put things aside, and it gets to like the day of the match. And I noticed that, well, Ethan Carnage, Jason Sanders, posts for this match in PWA. And I was like, well, if he's posting, maybe I can just, I'll do it in a way that I'll do a promo as to my abilities where the match in CPW will still feel special, still feel like a first time, and this PWA match, I'll do it in a different way. Very much easier said than done. I think I accomplished that to some degree, but I don't blame you for being pissed at me, Eric. I don't blame anyone on CPW for being pissed at me. I kind of felt that should have been addressed, but that's an awkward situation. I've never even had that happen to me in promo wrestling before, where it's sort of like and I don't even know if it was done on purpose. I didn't even bother asking.
Capio claims that it's not done on purpose. I find it hard to believe that it wasn't. it's happened a million times. It's not the first time that it's happened.
See, and I
Me-
didn't know that. I didn't know.
Me and Dylan both agreed that it wasn't on you guys. You guys didn't book the match. You didn't build the match. And in the end, it would probably only really help. That's the way we looked at it. But at the same time, it is what it is. You know, it just kind of happened. And Procopio is the one who got the shit end of the stick on that one. But I think he did it on purpose. He did it. He proved it to me through private messages and stuff where we're upset at me and Procopio were very, very close. He was my right-hand man for a good amount of time as far as this goes. He didn't do me wrong. And the bottom line is that I trusted him. We started UPG3. Through UPG3, somebody made a comment to somebody else that I found to be absolutely absurd, and I kicked that person from the group. And pretty much anybody that came to me already upset, not asking me what happened, I just automatically kicked them from the group too. It ended up being the entire faction, the Suicide Squad, minus 2 people, Garrett and Ron, who are, if you don't remember, 5 months ago or 4 months ago or 3 months ago or however long it may have been, those were my stars. Those are the top guys in CPW who don't even cut a promo now. They ain't even in there. Ron's coming back. Ron's been busy. He's like an actual actor. You know, he's actually doing things that are keeping him busy as a family. It's nothing against those guys, but they haven't been cutting promos, and we're still going. But at the time, they thought they were the star attractions, and it's a never-ending cycle. But Procopio, he was my right-hand man, and out of nowhere, he decided to switch to jump ship over to PWA, and to be honest, that hurt my feelings. In the way that I reacted to it, when my feelings are hurt, I don't go lay down on the couch, eat ice cream, and cry like a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? Something else happens. People may not like what happens. I might call you a bitch, you know? If I feel like you're bottling emotions up and you're not telling me something that I feel like you want to get off your chest, I'll call you a bitch. And my point of that is, get off your chest, tell me what you need to tell, because I can handle it. You might not be able to handle the kind of heat that you want to bring down on me, but I can. I can handle it. You can tell me what you're feeling right now. We can work this out, and we can move forward. You know, and that's what I really wanted out of Mike. But what I got out of Mike was a cold shoulder and a jump over to, and the crazy part is I read every single text message or Facebook message I needed to read to know the absolute truth here. And what I know to this point is that Mike was upset that I kicked this certain person. I just don't want to bring up the whole problem to make it a problem again, but I kicked the guy from, from CPW, and these guys are the guys from my UPG team, from my Ultimate Promo Guy team. I gave myself a handicap, but I ruined UPG, so that's his excuse for quitting, but it had to have been something else. Had to have been something else, because you're already saying he was taking some time off after UPG, but he didn't even take that time off, and he just jumped right over to PWA. And then he's in my inbox trying to pretend like everything's okay. You know, and there's other people involved in this, other people's feelings, and that's why I'm not like giving like a full description of the story and trying to protect other people. But it's just messed up to me. It's just completely messed up to me the way that all transpired. And it's not the first time. You know, when Dylan left the first time, it was kind of like, well, I don't think I did anything that we couldn't have worked past. You know, is it totally against the rules? Is it totally against human nature that we didn't see eye to eye on something? You know, do you think that it's fairyland and we're just going to agree on everything? And that's not what makes a good team. A good team isn't just like, oh yeah, let's do whatever you just said. You know, we're like, hey, that's a great idea, but this is what's wrong with it. You know, and then through a combination of brainstorming, you come up with the idea that seems to fit best. A lot of people in this business, and I call it a business, it's not a business, but we call it a business, you know how that works. They just can't handle that. They can't handle the fact that we might not agree on something. People don't want to work towards what's best for the business. Everybody's self-interest is what comes first, including mine sometimes, which my personal self-interest is the interest of the whole community. But everybody else, most people's self-interest is what comes first for themselves. You know, I can't think of...
Well, that's what I want to get into right there. You said for a lot of people, their own self-interest comes first. We brought up earlier the community and how, hey, we have 300 people in this group and we have 40 active competitors. Why are promos only getting 3 likes, 2 likes, 1 like, sometimes even no likes at all? What are you seeing from that perspective? Why are people doing this? Is it just simply a case of people are, hey, I'm in this business for myself. I want to win. And if I give that person a like, hey, guess what? They have 4 likes and I only got 3 and I'm not giving them that upper hand. Is that what we're seeing? Or is this, what's the blend? Or is there just apathy? People are in so many groups that they just can't even, I can't even bother to watch all this. What do you think?
Well, I'm not really sure. But what I do know is that when the group is thriving, it's when everybody's showing everybody that support. That's when the group is at its best. Whatever group it may be at that time, when everybody is showing everybody that support, and when a new guy comes in, that whole group comes and shows that one person that support. That's when the group's at its best. But when most of these groups of people are only showing each other support when they've been around each other for so long, I don't think it's so much that, again, I'm not sure. I'm hoping. What I'm hoping is, because the only logical answer is you guys aren't bad people. The people in this community are not bad people. But I think that they have some kind of block, some kind of self-esteem issue that doesn't transpire into, you know, they don't want to show that support because it's not cool to, maybe it's, you know, it's really hard to describe because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it does happen. I know everybody sees this stuff. That Dan Brass, I'm going to keep going back to him because I know he has that self-esteem. I know he knows that he's the shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when everybody else goes and they see that, why wouldn't they like it? You know, why would it, that simple? I mean, how hard is it? I got a clicker right here, you know?
Yeah.
This button, like.
Well, and
that's it.
Well, Mullins, let's get your opinion on this. You're a full-time, really. You compete in a lot. You've been in almost every Fed. Is Eric right here? Like what are we seeing here? Why are these promos not getting enough support that that we believe they should? What is your take on it?
I really don't know because I don't think everyone watches promo in the group. You know, I think and referees, they only watch the promos for like scheduled to ref, or I really don't know. No, personally, I can't watch every single promo. So many, it's not enough to any of the other. Just there's too many promos to watch.
Damn right there is.
So for me, it's just hard to keep up with them all.
Perfect. Let's get right into that then. Eric, you're, like we said, you're in CPW, but there is a plethora of promos. Right now, we could say promo groups. We have PWS, which is sort of a central tournament-based whatever. We've got CPW, PWA, IW, WPW, WKP. I mean, I could go on and on. I would need multiple hands to go through all of the federations. Then you times that by the number of competitors, blah, 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 blah. We see how it becomes insane. Mullins talks about there's so many promos. Well, on any given day, you could probably find 100 new promos amongst all of the feds. What's your take on this? Should there be contraction? Should we be looking towards bringing more people together? Or is it just inevitable that we're going to have all these feds, and you're just going to have to commit to a couple if you want to be a really, good competitor. What's your take on it?
I think there should be two. I think there should be CPW, and there should be CPW's little brother, little sister, whatever you want to call it. That's what I think. The reason we get that push is because I've tried before twice, just recently and before. GPW, I think we called it, Global Promo Wrestling, where Paul was the leader.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know. I was the one that started this big giant group chat. I said, hey, this is becoming kind of ridiculous here. Why don't we just all bring this back together? I know a lot of people have a lot of bad feelings about me, but to show that I'm serious, I think that this guy, Paul, who everybody kind of gets along with, should be the leader of the group. I thought Paul was the perfect guy besides me that people would trust. And I wanted people to trust that I was being serious. So that's why Paul was chosen, not only because I trusted him, because everybody else did too. For whatever reason, because Paul wasn't fully dedicated at that time, which he still isn't today. He has his history. It is what it is. But he just wasn't, he didn't have that time. He didn't have that full dedication that it took to launch GPW. Then just recently, I kind of put together a team of people, which I thought to myself was the perfect team. I had Shanti on that team. I had Robert Miller on that team. I brought in Jason Sanders, who I still don't know that much about, but I knew enough about him to know that he belonged on that team. I brought in Denon Sturge. We had Jeff Teeters. I created this small group of people, which was in return a large group of people, all people that had their hands in the pot at one place or another. And I was kind of seeking out, like, okay, well, what does this person do? Hold on. Yeah. What?
In the meantime, Mullins will sing a show tune. Mullins, the Incredible Seven Man. Carry on, Eric.
So I was
the whole entire time that I was
door.
sitting here messing around on my phone, I was trying to find that CPW Royal Rumble poster that you guys were talking about, and I couldn't find it.
I'll find it. Or Tom Collier will. Anyways, I put together myself this small group of people. I was going to start. I was going to put Dylan Mays in charge of CPW for like a backup plan. I was going to start this new group. And the new group was going to involve all these people I thought that were putting this into it, including Shanti and all those people. And we were going to focus more on an entertainment-based thing, where we were going to look at one podcast. Obviously, I didn't know you were doing anything like that. I didn't know, you know what I mean? And then we're going to have the shows as well. I was going to have CPW just in case, but we're going to start this whole new thing. And the whole idea was to reach to more people. Mm-hmm. That was my plan, to reach to people that haven't been reached before. To reach to real wrestlers who I thought maybe Jason Sanders would have had that kind of reach. I thought he would have that kind of reach to these other people. And whatever, Robert Miller had a podcast at one point. We did that, Promo Mania. Within a couple weeks later, Shanti's not responding to messages. I'm like, hey, I have these good ideas. He's not responding to me. And then all of a sudden I see, because I'm in TPOW or TOPW, and I see Matt Minnick and Chelsea come and do this this video where they're talking about podcasts and stuff. And I'm like,
oh yeah, they did that under the Oliver Queen account.
And I'm like, this is absolutely 100% complete bullshit. I've been feeding this fucking information to you assholes for 2 weeks now, trying to get something going. Nobody's acting on it. But what you guys are doing is grouping up in your own little cliques. That's what everyone's in their own little cliques, talking about what I'm talking about, trying to figure out where they should go with it. Yeah, and whatever, it's a good idea. Titans of Podcast Wrestling, which is kind of a dumb name. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. Podcast wrestling, who
I
knows what
think
that
they
is?
did that just to stay true to the actual name and the part of the eFed that's now closed. They're just trying to stay true to it. And I was,
We
like I said, I mentioned this before. I said, none of us TOPW admins knew about it except for very select few people that actually knew. And like you said, I knew there was some talks between you and Shanti that said that fell apart, and that's why Minnick and them came in, and the rest is history.
Shanti screwed me over. Whatever. Me and him have a history. I think that back then in our history, we didn't really see eye to eye, and maybe that has something to do with the reason why he decided to go a different route without talking like a man, But whatever. Something that wasn't discussed.
I mean, none of us, like I was saying, none of us TOPW admins knew about it except for very few people. Most of us were in the dark. At the time that I was head booker, I was constantly booking the matches. I was pretty much doing it all at that point.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even let in on it. So it came to a surprise to me as well. And that kind of ticked me off.
And I don't blame you, Mullins, because it wasn't right. That's why it ticked you off. If you even know why or why not, it just wasn't right. But it's like there's 1,000 members in my group, right? We didn't ever expand past that. But TOPW's got 5,000 members, but nobody ever talks about it. It's not even treated like it has 5,000 members. It's not even treated like it's just not even like recognized. Who are these people? So how do we reach to them, I even kind of came to Shanti about it. Maybe if I told him we were going to change the P from being promos to podcast, maybe he would have been down with it. I don't know. We didn't talk enough about it to find out. All the people that were involved, it was just kind of like whatever. I just kind of gave up on it. It's like, this is why we can't do nothing like this, because people don't communicate. We don't come together. I was willing to give up again. I was willing to give it up again. Not for the first time, not the second time, not the third time, not the fourth time. Again. Like, I can't even count how many times. CPW is not that relevant to me. What I want is one giant group where we all just kind of work on common goals, where we have writers, refs, and these people that do that, but then we have all the groups coming together, and instead of cutting 5 promos in a week, you put all that energy into one promo. If you go to build...
Exactly.
If you build cars...
Could have like a show for
right?
each day.
Let's say you build cars. You're a car builder now. You want a Mustang. You go out in your garage. You're about to start building a Mustang. You go on eBay and you look for the Mustang frame. Well, instead of buying one Mustang, you buy 5 Mustang frames. You're like, I don't know which one to choose, so I'm buying all of them. You put 5 Mustang frames in the garage. You start working on each and every single one at the same time. How long is it? You're never gonna at the end, you're never gonna have a Mustang.
No.
Never gonna have a Mustang. But if you just bought one Mustang, started building it, at the end, you're going to be the CPWA World Heavyweight Champion. That's what's gonna happen. But hey, what do I know?
Well, is this ever... We've all had this thought, because I think especially those who came out of that no DQ IPW route, where we did see it under one group, and I bet you money that a lot of the people in IW right now they're probably feeling the same way. If they came into IW and that's the only Fed they've known, things probably will change just because that's the environment of how this whole works. But we strive to see something like that again, because we knew that we were all watching each other's promos. We were all commenting. It was actually like we were a real community. We're fractured now because we got PWA, we got CPW, we got UPW, we've got all these other groups, and we kind of come together in PWS, but that's still controversial. Eric, is there any way, you mentioned it before, where people want to win, and they think that, if I don't have the World Heavyweight Championship, I'm just a loser. Where they don't think No, you are judged by the metrics of what you're producing. And even if you're just in the lower tier, but you're producing gold, you're doing something good for the community, you will get there one day. Do you even think it's possible anymore? Do you think that it is even a capability that we can bring people together? Are we just grasping at straws here? And this is just the new way of promo wrestling. It's going to be this way. This is just how it is.
If I didn't think it was possible, I never would have started talking about it. I absolutely think that it's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't want it. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think that's the best thing for it. I think that if me, Matt Minnick, Ryan Steinberg, I think David Jones is a pussy. Flat out.
Well, you're going to have to expand on that. We can't carry on. You're going to, even if you carry on, but bring that up after. Because I
believe that David Jones, he came in to CPW and he basically just was there to recruit people. He didn't want to cut any promos or anything like that. He just wanted to find out who's a good promo artist like Thomas Austin and get him over in IW. And obviously most people, you know, I don't even try to fight it anymore, like with the people, like don't go here because it just makes you like seem like a fucking stingy like boyfriend or something, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to get that like boyfriend girlfriend attachment with the guys that are cutting promos in your group. But it's kind of sad how that's what people join your group just looking for that, and they don't understand why that's not okay. It's like, well, because there's already enough expansion. Now, granted, they do things so much differently from my understanding. Mm-hmm. But when I confronted David Jones, he backed down like a little bitch. He didn't want to talk about nothing. He just kicked me, and I think I left him in CPW. I didn't kick him from CPW. He may or may not be there now, but it was just like not a discussion. It was like, oh, I'm here to leech off you. I'm here to suck your blood, you know? Like that's kind of like the vibe I got. And when I said something to him, now if I was to have gone to his group, okay, and the guys from Radical Roundtables, I think it was called, they can attest to this. I went to their group and I leeched a lot of those people. You know, I took a lot of them. I didn't go there and just start sending private messages like a little bitch like David Jones. I started cutting promos. I started getting attention. I started showing people the kind of feelings you can draw out and the kind of feelings you can make people have just by cutting a video on the internet, you know, without taking it outside of like a character realm. I would dress up as the Mullet Man and go live in this group of people that I ain't never met before. You know, and I would tell them that what they're doing is different because Rich Diaz came into CPW. He saw what we were doing. He brought it back to their group and wanted to do it there. And it was like, you know, why don't you guys just come fucking do it here where we're trying to build the shit already? You know, there's just another guy that had a little bit more of a platform to try to steal everybody to come over there. And it was kind of like no DQ. That's what the Radicals Roundtable, it was kind of like no DQ where it was a tight-knitted discussion group, and they started doing the promos, and there was enough of them there that were like already tight enough to where they started doing the promos after they already knew each other. Now something happened in that group. It didn't have nothing to do with me, which I caused enough of a ruckus in that group. Trust me, I did. To where now they're spread out across this community. Guys like Lorraine Carter, Buick, Shooter J, Pacrapio. Just that's kind of the Glay Snap, which I don't know who he thinks he is. You know, just that group of people, those are the group of people that came from there. They probably would have never been introduced to this whole community if it wasn't for me dressing up as the fucking Mullet Man, who's a damn lunatic, you know, and going over there. And my whole point going over there was I don't know any of these people. And let's see what the Mullet Man can actually do if I'm not just being a jobber over in CPW. You know?
What I find interesting, I know exactly that you actually went out and you took the effort to sort of show, okay, this is what we can offer you. What I find interesting is that, you know, you've always taken, and this is my impression, if I'm wrong, correct me, but you've always taken sort of a route of you value entertainment more than anything. Am I correct there?
Oh, absolutely. That's all this is entertainment.
And I think David Jones would probably be along the same lines there. So it's interesting, but you just disagree with the practices. But I bet in the ideology, you two are probably pretty similar in terms of seeing what this whole community. You don't think so? Explain.
I don't. Well, first of all, I don't
the
disagree with his practices.
undercutting.
As a matter, no. Well, that I don't agree with either.
Okay.
But the fact that his group is predetermined, I kind of agree with. And it's funny because your biggest IW supporter is Anton Garcia, who's also your biggest CPW disc supporter. But his whole reason behind not liking CPW was always because it was supposedly predetermined. Okay, now the reason that we got that rap, which was months ago, a year ago, that's long gone and not dealt with anymore. The reason we got that rap was because one time I did say out loud to the whole group, I think this is the way we should be doing things. And the way that in a perfect world this would work would be we have writers who wrote the stories and gave the storylines to the competitors and said, do with this with what you can do with it. Here's your play, here's the act. You be that person. Now, at the same time, yes, you'd get to create who your person was. Now, that person will be able to say, okay, well, that's who you are. Now, this is what you're going to do with that person. Win, lose, however that may be, and turn this into an actual game to where it's like you get points for doing a certain thing. And I haven't put it all together. It's really so complicated, and so many people could disagree on it that it really would take a strong group of people to come together. It wouldn't be one person on its own, but it'd take a strong group of people to come together and create this actual game and turn it into something we do. And until then, it's going to be like what we do in CPW, where we kind of ref the matches based off of how good they are. But at the same time, it's always going to be the entertainment, whatever you do to entertain, whatever makes me watch the whole promo without getting bored is what's going to win,
Well, let's capture that because we're kind of getting close to the end of our time here. And, we've said that this with others, but Eric, we have to have you on again multiple times. You have a mind for the business. It needs to be tapped into multiple times, expand on it. But right there, that's something I want to get into right there. The not getting bored. You have long been a proponent of shorter promos over longer promos. I'm assuming to keep up the entertainment value, because someone rambling for 12 minutes, unless you're someone who can really, really keep it up. And even then, you better hope that the audience is in the right frame of mind to be willing to accept a 12-minute promo on their feed. Eric, get into that. What makes good promo, what makes bad promo, but get into the length even. I mean, you're someone who has watched a million promos, who has done a ton of promos. What are we seeing here in today's community? What could be corrected? What could be changed? What are you liking? And feel free to get into the length of promos as well.
Well, we'll start right off with the length of promos, because that's pretty important. They should never be more than 3 or 4 minutes, if you really get caught up in what you're talking about, you don't realize you go past that time. They go past the time, but if you're just sitting there trying your hardest to think of something, you should, before you get do a promo, you should kind of know the goal of your promo. You should kind of know if you're trying to piss somebody off. You should kind of try to know if you're trying to paint a picture of how you're going to beat somebody or what it is. The most entertaining promo I've ever seen was when Austin bit the head off of a snake. That's without a doubt. That was he kind of took a little bit too long to get to that point. Thank God it was Thomas Austin, and there's something special about the man, period, to where he doesn't have to try that hard to entertain an audience. But you should kind of try to know that you should have a climax, and that's all you should be thinking about is your climax to a promo and how you're going to get to that point. And it shouldn't take you that long to get to it. A, you got people that are trying to judge this stuff. B, you're not a famous actor. You don't get a half hour. Like, you shouldn't be sitting there talking for a half hour talking about promos, which is something that may be a little extravagant now, but that used to happen a little bit. You'd get people talking for fucking 20, 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah, you would.
And it's like kind of repeating yourself there a little bit. You really just want to go out there. You want to be enthusiastic as possible. You want to have charisma. You want to make people believe that you're going to kick some ass here in what you are supposed to be doing in a promo. What we're supposed to be doing is selling a pay-per-view. We're supposed to be selling a match. You want to get an audience that wants to go see this match. And there's obviously not a real match going on. So, and I've actually been the guy to come across and say, delivery. You got your delivery on a promo. Did you stutter up on your words? Did you, that's kind of where your crucial mistakes come in. Then you got your wordplay. So the words you said during this delivery, how you said them and what you meant, was that, like how did those words come together and how did they play out? You got your charisma, which the charisma is just basically like, oh, yes, I like listening to this person talk. You got the sale, which in my opinion is probably the least important into this community, but at the same time, the most important about what a promo should be is selling that event. Did you sell the event or not? And we had a hard time incorporating that, which in CPW for a long time, we made that about like the area that you were, that we booked, and that was basically because we were losing that confrontation, what the promos, the actual heat between the two competitors, and we had to try to create something for you. So the creation that we had was, this is the event, this is where the event takes place. So we would tell people like, well, did you mention in your promo where your promo was? Because if you didn't, nobody would know where they had to go to see your match. We kind of lost that along the way, even though I still agree with it, but just enough people kind of were against it to where it's like, well, we don't do that anymore. Which shows that I am obviously someone you can talk to, someone you can express your ideas to, and I will listen. And then what was the other one? There's 5 of them. But I made the scorecard, and I would have 5 points per section, and you rank that. And even the PWS to this day uses that score system. They just dumbed it down to use 3 instead of 5 of them. But yeah, that's how a promo should be judged, is basically off of the way that you dumb it down the most is, could you watch the whole thing?
Yeah.
If you could watch the whole thing in one of them and you couldn't watch the whole thing in the other one, well, guess which one wins? And if one of them is 45 seconds and the other one is 12 minutes, which one do you think you're going to be able to watch the whole thing?
Exactly.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to miss a bunch of stuff.
Well, and that's always been such a contentious battle where I've even seen matches where some guy cuts a 3-minute promo, another guy cuts an 8-minute promo. The guy with the 3-minute promo wins because it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Mullins, is that what you see out there? Like, what are your thoughts on the time of promos? I mean, shouldn't it just be about capturing the essence of the match, the essence of the character, the essence of the rivalry? Why do we still see these promos going on? I mean, we still see 15-minute promos here and there. Like, what is your ideal for a promo?
It would be 3 minutes tops. I mean, like, if it's a multi-man match, like triple threat, 6-man match, 4 or 5 minutes tops, with nothing over that.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the bottom line is, Brett, when you went over to PWA, you just made it pretty fucking clear to me that you knew what you were doing before you got into it. And even though I said beforehand that we weren't really all that mad at you over in CPW, now that we did this interview, and I'm just sick of biting my tongue, it was pretty obvious that you knew what you were getting yourself into, that you knew you were kicking me in the nuts, that you knew you were kicking Dylan in the nuts, and it was complete bullshit, and you shouldn't have done that. You should have just told Michael Pacrapio that he could go bend over and suck his own cock. You should have sat down and told him, I'm CPW for life, mother effer, and been good with it.
Look, to someone who is like you, Eric, who doesn't really care what other people think about them or doesn't really care about, you say you care about the community, I don't know, the jury might still be out on that. I try to accommodate others, see both sides of the fence. So when I went over to PWA, it was because I was feeling a resurgence in my career. I wanted to do some more promos. I felt I had the characters to do it. I had the energy. I had the time to do it. It's not me. You said it earlier. It's not me who gets booked. I didn't book that match. I got booked into that match. Jason Post, what am I supposed to do? I did as much as I could for CPW. I put up a promo to the point where I could separate, and I still came through for CPW with what I thought was a pretty damn good promo. Maybe your mileage might vary, but you can think that I tried to screw CPW in that manner, but
I don't think that you were trying to screw CPW, and it sounds like a load of crap coming from your head. I can't put it past you. Everything you do is good, okay? You're not going to put out a promo that's not no good, so whatever, you know? I mean, but when somebody puts you up, I mean, I think that you're a man of a high enough moral gratitude standards to see what the hell was actually going on at that point in time to say, well, hey, you're trying to screw these guys over, and I'm not down with that. I think that Mullins would have done something like that, but I don't know, because he's done some pretty crappy things over time, too. He has. He really has. Mullins is kind of a piece of crap. I can't tell you why, but I can just tell you that it's the truth.
Look, we all get faced with situations in this, you don't want to call it a business, whatever, community, whatever it is, where there's going to be some gray area. I've never had a gray area such as that, where to the point where I felt, okay, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I could have went either way, but you of all people who is a father, who has dedicated time, I work 40 hours a week. I go to school 40 hours a week. I didn't really know what I should do. It kind of got ahead of me, and by the time I knew it, Jason Sanders spoke. So what I'd be curious is, you brought Jason Sanders in for CPW to be an opponent for me, probably because you realized you didn't have any talent on the CPW roster to compete with me. So why aren't you more pissed off at him than me? Because I simply reacted to his promo, and I have always for 2.5 years stuck up for CPW, and I've always said that CPW is my home, whereas other people have jumped ship and tucked tail, whereas I haven't. Even if I wasn't competing regularly in CPW, even if I was just fucking around in PWS or just being a joke in WPW, putting up comedy promos, I've always said CPW is my home. So why do I get the heat, but this guy who you brought in from foreign promotions, where's his heat, huh? Why is Ethan Carnage so, he gets bowed to? But what about me? This goes exactly to the same problem that I had in the start with CPW.
Well, here you are deflecting the confrontation from you to Ethan Carnage. Ethan Carnage, we tell you what, right now, he's a piece of crap too. Ethan Carnage doesn't even deserve to be spoke about. I could give a crap less about Ethan Carnage. Mm-hmm. My problem is with you. I don't know Ethan Carnage. Ethan Carnage doesn't belong in CPW. He's not CPW. No matter what he's claiming right now, whatever his confrontation, whatever his alliance is with Ismael Baez, and I don't know. I told you this. I don't pay attention to actually the way that the show is represented. Mm-hmm. But you say there's nobody on the CPW roster that could hang with you. Let me show you something right now. What's going to happen? Your little short ass, Brett. Your little short ass walks up. Little hair going, take your head off. Like hot butter, Brett.
Yeah,
Brett. I'll tell you something right now. You think there's nobody on the CPW roster that can hang with you? You're looking at him. You're looking at him. I don't even compete anymore, and you can't step up to me. God, the good Lord himself.
Well, Eric, we've actually had a match. We've had many matches in IPW, I think. Yeah, we have. And you know what? You know who came out of that match victorious? Those couple
Probably
matches.
Me.
No, it was definitely me. And I will bring up those matches because I have a partner here named Matthew Mullins who you sullied his name through the mud. And I will get him to bring up those matches to prove. You like to pretend that. No, you can bring up those matches where
Matt,
I
bring them up.
supreme.
You're a piece of crap, Matt. Pull them up. Pull them up. You have the information. Pull them up.
You know what, Eric? The thing that comes down to...
I don't even know which promotion these matches happen in.
They're in IPW, and I can find them. The one, it was to a Lion King. It doesn't even matter. The point is, Eric, the point is, you like to pretend that you're above. Oh, I don't really see. But then through this whole interview, what do we see? Eric has personal issues with this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. I try to cut you the benefit of the doubt, but as soon as you thought it advantageous to cut me down and to try and say that, oh, I was disrespecting CPW, that's bullshit. You know for a fact I've respected CPW more than anything. I come back because I do feel slighted by that Ismail Bias, who likes to call me a coward on every single promo, despite the fact that your little buddy, your little manager, your little puppet, because that's all Eric Jesse's about is his little puppet manager, that Ismail Bias won't even face me in a match. Oh, what a proud man that guy is. I issued a challenge to him, and what are you doing now, Eric? You're going to take my head off like hot butter, just like that coward Ismail Bias can't, because there I am. Here I am, clear as day, issuing my challenge to him, and what happens? Oh, Eric Jesse comes in to save the day once again so that Ismail can't do it. Then Jason Sanders, oh, I don't care about Jason Sanders. He can go this way, he can go that way. You brought him in. Regardless of how it is, he got attached to the CPW name as soon as you put his name against mine on the bill. So, Eric, if you want to face me, that's fine. But all I've been asking for, all I've been begging for is just a simple little match, a simple little confrontation with Ismail Bias. If I face you, do I get that match, or is this just going to be another smoke and mirrors act by CPW? I really want to know because I've been dragged along this line, not going to be baited like other people have.
Well, I think that's a coward's way out. You want to face an old man like Ismail Bias, 1 versus 1. Yeah, I'm stepping in. I'm stepping in for the old man. You want to know why? Because I'm the young buck like you. And if you want to go toe-to-toe, if you want to handle this out, see who the best is, 1v1.
I can't find any of those.
I can't promise Ismail. I don't know if Ismail can fight. Matthew, shut up. You're a piece of crap. Brett, you need to watch your damn mouth wearing your Seattle Mariners shirt over there, looking up in the sky. You can't even look me in the eye.
Yeah, I'll look you in the eye because you know what?
Which city this is.
Well, you can figure out what city you're in. Mullins, you're screwing yourself, buddy. You're giving him more material because this guy, he's an exploitation artist. He likes to exploit.
You two.
Don't even know what city I'm in.
Mullins, look, the fact of the matter is, again, you want to say I'm backpedaling. I've taken every challenge since I've came back to CPW. I started taking all these challenges. This old man, oh, he's such an old man. Oh, he's so precious. He can't even fight. Well, he sure as hell has enough vigor and motive. He came back into the Battle Royal, the Justin Klein Memorial Battle Royal, didn't he? And
maybe if you were part of it, you would have won. But you didn't want to throw your participation. You want to help the group out. You're so part of all these other groups.
Yeah, well, it's called being a member of the community. And you know what? If Ismail was so frail, if Ismail was such a, oh, we can't attack him, maybe he would learn to shut his mouth. I don't have sympathy for old men that want to run their mouth, want to say what they can. Who's the coward? This guy who cuts a promo once in a blue millennium, or me who's put myself out there time and time again, gimmick after gimmick, and kicks ass. Oh, yeah, rip your shirt off. Oh, yeah, you're a real man. You're a real
Bring it
man.
on.
Yeah, well.
Bring it on. You got a big mouth, bro. Face me in a promo. Let's see what happens to your head.
You pick the date. You pick the name. I'll be there in CPW. I promise you.
I knew this podcast was going to fail. I knew it was a piece of crap. I knew you were a piece of crap. I knew you wanted to get me on here to embarrass me.
Yeah.
I knew it was a big hoax to begin with.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
over, dude.
here.
I'm leaving. I tried
Here.
to do this for you. I tried to make this podcast something. You had all these crap shoots over here, and now you want to disrespect me on your show because you knew the 2-liter Mullins was going to sit there drinking his 2-liter and laughing at me?
Yeah, well, you ask yourself who.
I'm laughing at both of you.
Ask yourself who is the character issue, because everyone else tries to speak, oh yeah, it's this and that. You're the only one that has a problem with everyone else. So you know what? If it takes me sort of defending that community, here's my head. Come, I dare you to try and take it off like hot butter. It's right here on the fucking platter, Eric.
I'm
Right
taking
here.
it off, Brett. I'm taking it off. You can sit there and square it all you want, because all you can know is I'm very accurate, I'm very quick, and you ain't going to be able to duck your head to the left or to the right. And I'll tell you right now, is if you take that shot, you're going straight down. I'm getting off this show right now. I got stuff to do. I've had enough of your crap. Just, it's a wash. Screw the whole community. Screw you. Ismail would kick your ass too. Mullins, wipe that smile off your face. This shit ain't funny.
I'm just enjoying this entertainment. I'm innocent.
Yeah, well, Eric, you try and cut other people up. You try and do that to the community. I'm here. Oh, there he goes. He's off.
I will say this. I disagree with your statement that not anyone on the CPW roster can hang with you. I think they could. Quite a few people could hang with you.
Eric wants to bring in Eric. Yeah, well, Thomas Austin and I are on good terms because Thomas has a mutual respect, and even though we might sit atop or on the opposite sides of political spectrum, we still come together. And that's something that maybe Eric should learn. Maybe that's a lesson he could take home, is how to see from other perspectives. That's what the whole purpose of this podcast is to see each other from everyone's perspective. Yeah, well, whatever it wants to be. If he wants me, here's my head. Right on a platter, he can try and take it off. He's tried before. I kicked his ass in IPW. I've kicked his ass in CPW. I'll kick his ass again. Well, he can do it.
I just want to sit in the audience with my Pepsi and some popcorn and just enjoying the show.
Well, you enjoy the show. There really is. We try and do a good thing here, but once again, it showed that egos like to take over the promo wrestling world. And if Eric Jesse wants to take... Well, if he wants to take that route, he can take that route. And if I'm going to be this sort of bearer of neutrality, people want to diss Switzerland because they're neutral. They want to diss on that. Diss on it all you want, because you know what? There's nothing wrong with being able to see both sides of the fence. That's exactly what this promo wrestling pod is about. If Eric wants to face me in a match to sort of settle that, by all means, I'm right here. I have no fear.
This is the greatest ending to this podcast to this day. I don't think this is ever going to be topped.
Well, topped or not, there's a disrespect that currently is running. I should have expected it. Am I crazy for having Eric Jesse on the podcast? Am I mental? Like, what were we?
I mean, that's the thing with Eric. That's one thing I will say, and I respect him for it. Jesse, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, well, I even thought. Well, I thought through this promo that we were doing good. I thought that
character, because
there's nothing
business.
Yeah, there's nothing character about disrespect. There's nothing sort of laughing about that. As much as you want to laugh, as much as there's going to be this sort of haha, it's nothing to take. Yeah, no, that was complete and utter disrespect. He shat on you. He shat on me. He shat on everyone else that's trying to do good. You want to
take anything seriously?
Yeah, you don't. But
out of character, because I'm out of character, so it doesn't bother me.
And I'm out of character too. So when you want to cut on people that are trying to do good in this business, like a David Jones, like a Procapio, like a Ryan Steinberg, like a Matt Meffy, like a Walter Main, these people are genuinely trying to bring the community together. And you got this guy who's trying to bring it apart, trying to bring this own podcast apart by calling me names, calling you names, Matthew Mullins. I take a little bit of offense to it. In fact, I get a little bit heated. So really, if he wants to go that route, I will go that route. I've never turned down anyone for a match. I certainly won't turn down him. No, if that's how it wants to go, that's how it'll go, Mullins. So you can laugh it up, whatever, and the people watching this will know exactly what it is, because you don't just call out names. You don't just name call. You don't just drop little names and think, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's nothing. No, there's a certain little animosity that if he wants it, Oh, it's entertaining to you, but you know what? It's very emotional. What did we talk about, Mullins? What did we talk about when you got CPW stolen from you? That it can hit a little bit of a chord. So when you want to try and come at me,
That's water under the bridge. You know,
yeah,
at that
water under
time,
the bridge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was probably for the best.
Well, let
It
it
is
be
what
for
it
the
is.
best.
I can't
Let
live
it-
in the past. That was
Look,
2 years ago, and this is the present, the future, not the past.
Well, let it be heated, let it be whatever, but that sort of stuff just doesn't diminish overnight. Eric wants that match, I will give it to him. I've just had about enough of this because I'm really feeling pretty heated right now. Mullins, if you have any last words, feel free to speak them right now.
Yeah. Tune in to CPWA for this upcoming bout. The battle.
No, if I had it my way, this would be in PWS. I wouldn't even give him the satisfaction of my ratings. I've done that enough already. I don't even know where this match. It might even be CPW.
It doesn't matter where the match takes place. Just tune in because it's one of the biggest matches to take place on E-Fed Promo Wrestling in a long time. This match was long overdue. Long overdue, like I was saying, and it just needs to happen. The grudge match of all grudge matches to settle the war once and for all.
If you,
Will he get his head taken off like a butter, or will Eric
No.
Jesse, the Violator, tap out in the middle of the ring to the sharpshooter? I guess we'll have to wait.
well, there won't be much ring about it. It'll just be straight shooting. And if he wants to go that route, we will certainly go that route. Quite the can of worms you opened up here, Eric. I'm hoping you listen to this little end part after you storm out, after you critique others for storming out. I hope you're really paying attention and hearing what I have to say, because I'm game. If you think I'm not going to be game for this bullshit, I am.
Oh,
So if you want to go that way, we'll go that way. So there's Promo Wrestling Pod, episode number 7. We're trying to do a good thing.
What a great episode this was.
Yeah, well, great until sort of certain things transpire. But we'll make sure that's rectified.
It was a great ending.
Yeah, well,
There was no better way to end the podcast than with that.
well, you might think it's great, but regardless, I feel like a little bit of my own legacy has been a little bit tarnished on, a little bit spat on.
Ratings right there.
I don't even give a shit about ratings. He needs his mouth shut. You know, some people just need a good punch in the mouth to finally shut him up. I don't think Eric ever got that. So Eric will get that courtesy of me. He wants to take a shot at me.
That one.
Yeah, well, we'll finally put an end to that. All the people that have wanted to shut his mouth for a long time, here I am. I will help you do that. I will find a way to do that. Well, not find a way. I know exactly how I'm going to do it, and it's going to happen. So we'll make sure that that happens. But in the
I don't
meantime,
even know what to call this little feud or match.
well, it's because he has Ismail as his little puppet. And, you know, I get tired of Ismail commenting on my posts. No, on every single one of my posts, whether it be CPW, PWS, whatever it is, what's he going to say? And he says it to you too, Mullen. So you're not a victim. You're not innocent in this either. Oh, Brett Litkey's a coward. Oh, Brett Litkey's a coward. How much of a coward am I, really?
Well, let me rephrase this. Let me tell you a little story.
Yeah, why don't you
Here's how
rephrase
it happened. Here's why he said those things about you. It all started when we were supposed to reunite the North American connection after nearly a 2-year
bullshit. He was doing this. No. Oh, I'm so tired of hearing about this.
Apex Tag League in 2016, where we were runners-up, and you no-showed our tag team match.
No, that's bullshit. He was doing this before.
That left me in a 2-on-1 handicap situation.
Listen.
Because I hate that term. 2-on-1. It was me.
Listen.
Versus,
no, it doesn't matter who it was. It doesn't matter who the hell it was. The point of the matter is this was happening before that. Try to call me a coward, even though the man would never face me in a match and still won't. That tag team match, I was literally on top of a mountain, and you know that for yourself, Mullins. Other people have attested to it. I sent you a picture of me on top of a mountain. On top of a mountain, I was on top of. So I'm supposed to cut a promo on top of a mountain? Maybe I could have, but it was minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Plenty of time. I kept messaging.
I was out of town the whole time. It doesn't even listen.
Never responded until the very.
Because I was on top of a mountain. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't
You
even matter.
agreed to the match, point blank.
Yeah,
You agreed, and
Mullins.
you no-showed, little dude.
Mullins, people
You
have
out
lives.
there high and dry.
I wonder who Ismail got to. Who did Ismail speak to? Because you
find out 8 p.m. they got the shot at the
Mullins.
CPW World Tag Team title.
Mullins, who was it? Oh, you keep on spouting all this bullshit. You yourself.
It's
Oh,
not bullshit.
I
It's
hear
100%
through the grapevine that Brett Litke's a coward. I hear through this, Mullins. I know for a fact that Ismail was in your ear, you and him giggling it up, laughing it up together. Oh, we're just going to call him a coward. And you know what? Part of this whole career resurgence, bullshit. You fucking part of this whole
You
career
have
resurgence.
lost your mind. I
You're
was mad at you because you no-showed on me.
Because I have a life.
Because you no-showed because you went to a damn hockey game. Fucking bastard.
Oilers
I feel like-
playoff game. Oilers playoff.
I don't
game.
give a
When you show
damn.
the
You
shirt,
agreed
look at the picture.
to the damn match.
Have you ever been to a playoff game of your favorite
show
sports
up for the
team?
match
No.
You agreed to.
If
You
you
signed
had-
on the dotted line. You agreed to the match,
Listen,
and you no-showed.
listen.
No ifs, no
I have-
buts about it. You no-showed for a lousy hockey game.
It wasn't a lousy hockey game. I apologize for it. And if you had one modicum of respect for my life, which contains all of these different facets, you would understand that. But clearly you don't, because Ismail doesn't. Because I don't know if
I
it's
just-
ignorance, arrogance, or just plain.
I don't like being left high and dry either in a damn tag team match.
Yeah, and I apologized. Because sometimes you just don't
no.
make the promo. Because this shouldn't, as we've said before, shouldn't feel like it's a job. It should feel like it's a hobby. And guess what? Sometimes you just don't get to do your hobby. And I just couldn't that week.
Yeah, but when you make a verbal commitment,
Yeah.
you're agreeing to show up for this match. It'd be different if you would message me all like beforehand. So I'm
did.
sorry, I won't be able to make it.
I sent you. I said I'm on top of a mountain. I don't know. It's going to be a little risky. Look, regardless.
You're at a fucking hockey game.
No, the hockey game.
You're talking-
The hockey game was 2 days before. The hockey game was.
He cut a 1 minute promo. At least you showed up. At least you made the effort
Look,
to show up and put up some kind of fight. Me
listen, Mullins.
out there in a 1-1 situation, looking like a jackass.
Mullins, sometimes that just happens. Sometimes people just get looked like a jackass in promo. It does happen. Oh, life never interferes.
You made
Life
the
never
choice
interferes.
Not to show up for the match.
Look, if you're going to take CPW's side in this, that's totally fine. And you can take Ismail's side, and you can take Eric's side, and you can laugh it up despite the words that. How much disrespect did he give to you at the end of this interview? I've given you so much respect. We're real friends.
That match is what really caused my run in CPW, what caused my run in CPW to come to an end, because I wanted to be a tag team wrestler. Competitor. I was done being a singles competitor. I wanted to reunite as a tag team to win the tag team titles one more time.
Mullins, look.
I guess the joke was on me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Until next time, the podcast heavyweight champion, Matt Mullins, my tag team partner, the other member of the North American Connection, Brett Licky, and we're here to say good night, and we'll see you next time right here live on this podcast.
Well, if you're going to side with that team, I don't know. But we will probably be back next Tuesday. But I don't know, Mullins and I, we need to have a little bit of a discussion. And Eric and I, we don't need any more words. I think physical confrontation will do just fine. And Ismail, if you're listening, I'm still always available. If you want to get in Mullen's ear, get in Mullen's ear, but maybe you can get in mine. Maybe we could have a little bit of a discussion ourselves, because you know what? I'm getting really tired of having to fight battles where the other side just doesn't want to show up. And you know what? I try to show up. Life sometimes interferes, but you've had months on end. And if that's how you want to play the game, well, you can play that game, but don't try calling me a coward, because I'm going to be calling you a coward. As Mullen said, good night.